We are live again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. All right, so today everybody's the guest. We may have some others that pop in here, but everybody is the guest. So you guys have a chance to tell me what you want to talk about. Tay, good to see you. Good afternoon. Now that it is afternoon, had a pretty good discussion last night over on Vahagraphy talk with Cliff Motner. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I know I did. So, Caesar. Yeah, I saw your earlier comment talking about going to the camera store. Man, I have to leave my wallet at home if I go to a camera store. It's dangerous. Very dangerous for me. You enjoyed it, Roy? It was good. I enjoyed it too. Learned a little more about Mr. Motner. Interesting gentleman. Definitely worked his way up the ladder in the photography community. James, how you doing today? All right. We'll get her rolling here. I just throw a couple of things out there. We don't have to talk about it right now, but I know everybody has been probably watching the Nikon announcements, and April 4th is the official announcement date for the 800. And Nikon Rumors says it is a PF lens. So it's going to be interesting to see the pricing on that. Of course, Canon just dropped their $17,000 800 5.6 monster. That's not the category for this lens, I don't believe, the 800. Still don't know anything about the two new cameras registered. Nikon is registered, and a lot of speculation on that as well. Rolling photographer, how you doing? Stream last night was great. Had to leave about 10 p.m. Some of us still get up early for work. Yeah, brother, I know what you mean. I know. It's just tough, you know. We got this world clock where we can speak to the world any time of the day or night. And unfortunately, it's not as convenient for some as it is others. You try to find a time slot that kind of caters to everybody, although it's never going to be perfect. Hence the Wednesday afternoon talks so that maybe more people can get in. I know people work. So the U.S. side of the house may be a bit more bleak, but maybe we can reach out to some of our partners around the globe here. I know it's a little bit more convenient for Roy, I think. $8,000 for the 800. Yeah, I'm in the $8,000 category as well, Roy. I think that's where it's going to be. Mosman, how you doing? Morning, Mike. How you? So, like I said, we may have some others that join us. Vahagraphy may jump in here for a bit. We'll just take them as they come. Tay, 5,000? Brother, I hope you're right because that opens that lens up for a whole lot of people. Yeah, James, I agree. But I think that's what everybody's hoping for on the other 400 millimeter is it's going to be a PF lens. That'll be an interesting lens too. That'll be a popular lens if it's priced right. Hopefully we'll see some more information on that here before too long. Yeah, I know a lot of people want the 2 to 600. I'm really curious to see what that 2 to 600 is going to do. I mean, you're going to have so many telephoto lenses and zoom telephotos out there, or at least Nikon is. I'm curious to see the quality from each one of those. I'm not one that falls into the category of Nikon can't drop this camera or that model or whatever because it eats into the sales of others. However, on the lens side of the house, I think that can be the case. Some lenses will eat into their more upper echelon lenses. So the 2 to 600 is going to be interesting. I don't know. I don't know what I expect from that lens. I hope it surprises me and everybody else. And it is a very quality lens, quality glass, and it's priced right. But you and I both know that's going to tear away from sales on other lenses. Not too terribly so, but you got the 1 to 400. If you have the 2 to 600, the 400 PF, whenever it arrives, and to some extent, even the 800 PF, depending on the price of it. The 200 to 600 is, I know, the focal length everybody would like to have. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where it's priced and how good the glass is. James, need help with yours. Let me just throw these up here. Woohoo! Looking for some help with the Z9 camera settings using my 2 to 500. I'm still struggling to get birds in focus more often. James, I don't know which birds that you're talking about. Large birds, birds of prey, and things like that seem to be a whole lot easier. Owls and just larger body birds. The little bitty birds, it's been tough, even with the 1 to 400. I posted some photos that I took, but I'll tell you, I struggled with AF on the birds. Single point, not a problem, no issues whatsoever. However, on continuous focus, wide, large, or small, or 3D, or any of the other focus modes that I was trying to use, it struggled a bit. But again, I'm shooting these birds in brush, in their natural habitat, and they're camouflaged with the brush that they're sitting in. So the camera was struggling. I'm still working on that myself, but the quality of the glass, that 1 to 400, is fantastic. I don't have any problems whatsoever with that lens. Yeah, Vogs. Yeah, that D3X. Yeah, it's better color rendering from the D3X. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I think that's going to be in the settings, in default settings. If both were in default, same white balance and everything else, yeah, the color was warmer, no doubt about that. And if you're into warmer colors, then that D3X looks fantastic. I mean, it looks great today, considering how old it is. So you're using, James, you're using, let's see, AFC Wide S, yeah. Are you using the bird I'm sorry, the animal subject? Hmm. Faster aperture. Yeah, well, that's one of the problems that I have with the 1 to 400 and the TC2X is largest aperture you're going to get's 11 f11. So, and I had some guy give me the physics on what happens at f11, diffraction, this, that, whatever. Again, I'm not into the techie side of it. The bottom line is people look at the photo, they don't look at the specs on the camera equipment, the lens, and everything else, and all the physics. They either like the photo or they don't, and that's what I was trying to get across over there on one of the Facebook pages. Is I edited the photo the way I wanted it, and I know that doesn't appeal to everybody. But the question was, do you like it or not? And you don't hurt my feelings if you tell me you don't like it. I get that. But really, I was just showing the capability of the 1 to 400 with that TC2 on there. And I'm impressed. I really am. 2 to 600. I saw Jeffrey, you made a comment here. Maybe $300 more than the 2 to 500. Control ring and better Z lens quality overall. It may be the only long lens some of us can afford. I agree with you. So I know everybody's definitely waiting for that lens. It's funny how Nikon timed this or structured the release of these lenses. That didn't come out first. That may indicate that it's a pretty daggone good lens, and they definitely want to get their super telephotos and things out there first. Get those on the market first. Yeah, it was a great video on the D3X. I guess that's what you're talking about, James. Yeah, fantastic camera. Man, I jonesed for that camera big time when it came out. I didn't even get the D3 or D3S. It was another couple of years before I got into prosumer cameras, and I knew then that that is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to pursue my hobby even more. But that D3X was just fantastic. Remember, in the day, that was the Haas, man. 24 megapixels. Wow, unheard of at that point in time. And it definitely, looking at what it still can do, it was definitely worth the money if you could afford that huge price tag. One of the most expensive flagships of the day, $8,000, if I remember correctly, was the retail on that camera when it came out. Yeah, warmer colors last night. That's the consensus. I'm a warm color person too. I often get ripped for some of my photos because they'll talk about the white balance is off, but I like a warmer photo. It's just me. And you know what's funny? A lot of people do. So the tech togs that jump all over us about stuff, well, they can have it. Maybe for commercial photography. And Roy, you can weigh into that with your product photography. I understand when we're talking about white balance and everything there. But even in advertising today, how many commercials do you see that the white balance isn't absolutely correct because they're looking for a warmer color in their in the ads or whatever? Mike, reminds you of your D700. Yeah, I had a D700 too. I really liked that camera. Oh, so you've been back and forth between animal and take your choice between the three. And yeah, I did see somebody talking about one of the forums. They just switched the subject detection off, and he didn't really explain how that helped or whatever. But again, going back to single point focus, and I know I didn't buy the camera just for single point focus. I could have kept my D5 and done that. But single point focus obviously is simple. It's spot on, and you won't have any trouble. The problem is that you're back to, if anything moves, then you're going to have to refocus and recompose or whatever. I did have some luck, James, with the animal subject detection, but it wasn't what I had hoped for. So I'll keep playing with it, as I'm sure you will too. Maybe we'll find something that works for us and we can share. Roy, you wish you'd bought the 1.4 instead of the 2. You know, it's always we want reach, but we want quality. And there's always that balance of, are you going to get what you want as far as quality or rendition, resolution with the 2x converter, or you're going to opt for the 1.4, lose a little bit of the reach that you had hoped for, and get better quality in the photo. I'm not having any problem at all right now with the 2x on the 100 to 400 though. So The only problem I have is I'm at f11. That's wide open on that lens with the 2x. So, oh, here's a little story. So, hadn't done anything. Hadn't done anything with the little option ring or whatever it is on the lens. You can adjust aperture, ISO, or whatever else. Anyway, it was by default, I guess, or maybe I changed it somehow on aperture. So I go to take a shot and I look, it's struggling to get focused. Of course, looking through that EVF, I don't notice any difference, but the aperture, the little ring on the lens, I definitely turned that by accident, and I was shooting at f72. You're talking about depth of field. And this is where diffraction, I guess the guy was talking about, would really play a part. I took a couple of photos. I got to grab those again and look at them and just to look at what happened. But yeah, that's how easy it is to bump that ring. I didn't bump it, evidently. I turned that baby to get to f72. So immediately I went into the camera menu and changed that to none, no adjustment. So kind of funny there. James pre-order the 2 to 600 on opening day. That's the way to do it, man. Just commit and actually, jump on. A lot of people will ridicule you and say, well, you're going to be the test bunny and, whatever. Hey, don't worry about it. If you want it, then, and you're probably going to get it, order that baby. And at least you'll get it before so many others that are going to hesitate and wait and wait and wait. And after about 2 months or 3 months, they decide, oh, I really want that lens. And well, now you're in the queue waiting forever for it. I'm with you, James. It's exactly what I do. I've done it with the D800, the D810, the D850, the D5. I didn't do it with the D500, but of course the Z9. I'm going to commit early, and you can pretty much guarantee you're going to at least get it way before everybody else if you want it. And you know what? Here's another thing. Depending on where you buy it from, obviously you can return it. I'm not a big believer in that, using their return policy as a test opportunity, although it is available and they do honor that. But there will be so many people looking for that lens, just like the Z9. If it's something that you're not happy with, it's so easy to turn it over because the short supply right now on everything, everybody's willing to buy used or whatever. So just another thing to think about. Animal subject detect, wide, large to acquire subject. Let's see. To acquire subject, then switch to 3D tracking when desired. Are you using the Hudson Henry technique there, back button for 3D and the shutter button half press for the AF wide large? I tried that and it did work a few times, but now one of the problems I have is shooting at 800 millimeter. It doesn't take long before the object is out of the frame. So, I mean, that's on me. I don't have to shoot at 800 millimeter. But 3D tracking doesn't work extremely well because I can't pan the right direction quick enough to keep the subject in the viewfinder. So, and you know how it is with little birds, man. I could shoot the two shots that I posted yesterday or day before, whenever it was. They were at 800 millimeter. Now I could back that down to 200 millimeter, but then I'm going to have to crop significantly. Well, I may not be able to crop enough. So it's just one of those things, everybody's going to have to settle into what works for them. But on the little birds, I'm just asking the lens and the well, not the lens so much, but the camera. I'm asking it to pull off some magic that it just can't do. And again, I bring up, I talked to a friend or an acquaintance that has the A1, and he had told me, he said, well, the A1 won't do it either. He said, you're asking it to do something, in the impossible category. So That made me feel better, but then again, I want it to work. But it made me feel better knowing that, okay, I'm just asking way too much of it. Uh, Team Fuji. So you're just listening. That's right, Tay. You're not a Nikon shooter. I appreciate you being in here, and we definitely aren't going to knock Fuji because it has its place, and I love the colors of Fuji. Actually, at times, some of them look better than Nikon, and I really love Nikon colors. Uh, yeah, I saw your fly macro, and sorry about having problems posting there on Nikon Amateurs. And for those that are in here right now and don't know, I have a Facebook group, Nikon Amateurs group, and you guys need to jump over there if you're not over there yet. We don't bash each other. You can post what you want as far as your photos go, from snapshots to Nat Geo quality wildlife photography. It doesn't matter. We're not going to run anybody into the ground. And if you like a critique, you can ask for it, and everybody over there is going to be good, nice, and give you their fair share on the critique rather than the you must do this and you must do that. And I don't think we have any tech togs over there yet that are going to start hammering physics and everything else. It's just a nice place to drop some photos, chat with the folks in the group, and have a good time. Kind of like these live streams. Although we can get a little salty every now and then over here in the live stream. So it tracked the eye on, the, on that tiny bug. That is amazing. That is amazing. So which lens were you using? I didn't read the all the info on your photos. I just saw your photos. Of course, hit like because I do like them. Roy still got his D3 in a box. Man. Well, D3 launched it, didn't it? And it just got better from there. And Jeffrey just got the 1.4 on the 100 400. You're happy with it? Sorry about that. Sneeze. Waiting to try the 1.4 F mount with my 500 PF. Birds are on strike right now in South Carolina. They've been on strike up here, man. I haven't seen a year like this. Usually by now, my driveway's a slip and slide from the geese, and the ducks are here. There are a few mergansers that have shown up, but they're so skittish. It's just hard to. I have to go back there and sit for hours for the mergansers because that's the only way I'm going to get them to come anywhere near me. So I'm really hoping that 800 millimeter helps me with shooting those this year. Mosman 2 to 400, or I'm sorry, 2 to 600, 2K. Yeah, I guarantee it's going to be 2K. I'm guessing probably more in the probably 2,500 and up, at least U.S. price. I don't know what it's going to equate to internationally, but yeah, I'm expecting 2,500 plus on the 2 to 600. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right, because if you're right, there are going to be a lot of those lenses ordered. So if you're right, then and people you need to be watching if you want that lens. Whenever all the rumors start about it being launched or announced, and you'd buy it immediately at 2K, you need to be quick on the draw because that lens is going to be in high demand. Albert, I need to wear horse blinders going into the camera store. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. Because there's a whole lot of stuff in there that I would love to have. I could spend a fortune on just small accessories. Mozman. There you go. D3 in a box. Uh, yeah, the 2 to 500 is still holding its value. Hence, the 2 to 600 is probably going to be crazy on pre orders. Yeah, exactly, Roy. And I've brought that up in some of my near arguments with some of the tech togs. And we start hammering the white balance thing again, usually related to a photo that I post. Well, the white balance is off. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Of course it is, because I can't get the color I want with the white balance correct. There's some that's not entirely true, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, movies. Watch the James Bond movies. What was the one? I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was all Blue Hour, man. But fantastic. I love the movie. So yeah, it's all about taste until it's product photography, which you do. And I understand, and I've said this before. You know what? Coca-Cola, they have a patented color for their product, and they want that color to be seen. And I don't know how you can guarantee that with TVs and monitors and things the way they are, but they want that color as accurate as it can be. And so many other products are the same way. That is their brand, and they want it represented correctly. That I understand. I get that. But when you're taking a photo of flowers and things like that, or whatever it is, you feel free to add your own taste to it. There is no fine for it being too warm or too cool or whatever. Yeah, the 2 to 500 has been extremely popular. Oh, so you were seduced by the hype of the possible uh, quality of the 2X TC. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I was too. But I was going to get it anyway because I wanted it for I wanted the extended focal range there. And again, I'm happy with it for what I do. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be great for anybody else, but here's the other thing. Let me full disclaimer here. The photos that came out straight out of camera were fine, okay? Even in Photoshop with a little tweak, they would have been fine. But I'm a believer in topaz denoise right now. Okay. The photos were not noisy, but there was noticeable noise in 100% crop. Yes, there was noticeable noise. Nothing horrendous or anything like that. Fully acceptable. But I ran the photo through topaz denoise. And in topaz denoise, there is a sharpening slider in there to sharpen the original detail. I don't know how it does it. It's magic. I don't care how it does it, but it does it. And I was absolutely stunned at what came out of Topaz Denoise. The photo was just brilliant, fantastic. I will admit I didn't spend enough time. I got a lot of going on here today, don't I? I will admit that I could have spent a little more time, maybe put it up on the screen, looked at it, walked away, and come back. And I probably would have taken a little bit of the sharpness out of it. It's slightly over sharpened, but that that AI Topaz is fantastic. Why doesn't Nikon partner with them and put that in the camera? Man, what a deal that would be. Mm. So the 1.4 on the 2 to 500 is a bit more difficult. Well, I think that's understandable. So, what are you shooting at? Let's say at the 500M with a 1.4, what is your aperture? What is wide open? I'm just curious, James. Chad saying may be counterproductive, but that may be the first lens. Once you get the Z9, you talking the 2 to 600? Here you go. Here you go, Robert. When's Nikon going to revive the 1.7? I have that teleconverter, and I used it on my 400 2.8D. And yes, it can be a challenge. And you might have to do some post work with that 1.7. But I put the 1.7 on the 400 2.8 and shot it on my D500. And I think I have an equivalent of, I don't know what it is, about 960 millimeters, something like that. And it worked for me. But yeah, it can be a struggle. But yeah, I have the 1.7 because the 2.0 or the TC2 just wasn't impressive. I don't think anybody liked that in the F mount. And I was going to split hairs here and say, well, the 1.4 works well, the 2.0 doesn't. I'm going to opt for the 1.7 and take a chance. And it actually worked out for me. Yeah. That's a good question. I wonder if they will in the Z mount. I wonder if they will actually develop a 1.7 TC. Haven't heard anything about it, so I don't know. But yeah, man, I got it. Yeah, that's a good point. Z9 is amazing. Most cameras struggle above 5.6. Yeah, and with the D500 and the combination I just spoke of, yeah, it could be a struggle at times, no doubt about it. It was single point focus center, period, to actually achieve autofocus with that combination. Yeah, the Z9 is terrific because it's across the frame focus at f11. I didn't have any trouble at all. Well, whoa. Obviously, I had trouble. I just talked about it. But as far as single point focus goes, no issues whatsoever. And I'm trying to keep myself from going back to the way I shot forever. You know, focus, recompose, focus, recompose. I'm not saying that doesn't work and it's not difficult to do, but I'm really trying to push the Z9 to its capability. Obviously, I've probably gone well beyond its capability a few times, but yeah, I'm trying to get used to that because it can be a game changer for composing. No doubt about that. Yeah, I can't say that, Roy. I've ordered every camera that I bought just about without touching it. I've been fortunate. You know, when the D800 came out and other people had issues, I didn't have any issues with my D800. As a matter of fact, after a year with the D800, Nikon contacted me because, again, I was like one of the first to get it. They contacted me and asked me if I would send it back. And then they had a little statement that went out to everybody, certain lot of serial numbers. They wanted them to send them back. So I sent it back to them. It was nice because they cleaned it, did everything, did some cosmetic stuff on it for me, and just returned it. No difference in operation or anything like that. But I didn't have any trouble with the D800. So that was sight unseen. Everybody's talking about, hey, if you want to be a tester, yeah, I often am. And again, I go back to there's enough craze about these cameras and lenses that somebody will take it from you. Somebody will buy it from you if you're not completely satisfied. And I agree, James, and I've said this from the get-go right up front to all you guys as well. I can't give an absolute review on that camera like so many other people have because I am still learning settings and trying to set up these shooting banks and things like that. And it's not that there's anything wrong with all those features. It's just a matter of wrapping your head around it and then building the muscle memory to be able to change things on the fly as you like. Uh, oh, okay. So you did the Hudson Henry, yeah. Okay, yeah, I did that too. But again, I go back to I'm shooting at 800 millimeter, tiny birds, and within two flaps of the wings, and I'm trying to keep up with them. They're out of the frame, and then even 3D doesn't do any good. So you know what I need to do? I need to take that lens off or take the TC off, go out, shoot it at 100 millimeter, and play with it that way. So there is enough uh, frame to let it track throughout the frame. Um, it's a good question. No. Well, yeah, I am using a gimbal head, a Wimberley gimbal head on a um, on my tripod. I have a Gitzo Series 3, the a little older Series 3. The thing weighs about 5 pounds, the tripod. With a head, it's another 2 pounds. But yeah, shooting on a gimbal head. But you know what? I did a few shots handheld. And because again, though, I'm shooting birds, I'm trying to shoot at 1,000 plus as far as shutter speed. So that will cover a multitude of uh, shake and whatever. Let's see. I'm trying to keep up with you guys here. Constructive criticism. I'm sorry, I missed what that's in reference to, Roy. I'm all for constructive criticism, though, as a rule, not to make fun of and blast people. Uh, Here's Mosman. And you have the 1 to 400. I know, Mosman. All depends on the shutter speed. Yeah. And yeah, I agree with that last part of that completely. Uh, Depending on how long you're going to be out shooting and what you're shooting, it's almost a must. It's not that the lens is so heavy you can't. For motocross, running around the track, the adrenaline's pumping. I never even notice the heavy lens or camera or whatever. I just, I'm just out there shooting. I don't even notice it. But it is nice. I think the Z9 and the 1 to 400, I would love to have had this camera lens combo back when I was shooting motocross nationals. I got to tell you, I really believe it would really excel at that. The D5 and the 80 to 400 wasn't a slouch. Don't get me wrong, but I would love to go out and shoot another national with that Z9 and 1 to 400 because I do believe that 1 to 400 is a fantastic lens. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Yes, you're not getting the late evening photos with a larger aperture that you would like, but you know, Topaz denoise is out there, and I'm telling you, it covers a multitude of sins as well. I like it. I'm all for it. Okay, you were using the 105 for the fly. Okay, no extension tubes or anything like that. I have, I've been intrigued by macro and uh, the macro lenses, and the closest I have is a Zeiss. What is it? The F2 100, which is oh man, you talking about beautiful glass. Totally manual focus though, so it's not something you want to be trying to chase bees with. But it's man, the color in that lens, the contrast is just beautiful. Mm. Let's see. I have found out, Mike. Me too, Mike. I can't think of anything tougher to shoot than bird in flight, although the Z6 II did okay once it locked on. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the secret. And I think, man, what's this whistling going on today? That's the secret is working with the camera and the lens enough and shooting enough bird in flight. I mean, that's technique. And for those of us that just want to grab something that has fantastic autofocus and yada, 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 and go out and shoot birds in flight, a lot of us are going to be disappointed. And it has nothing to do with the camera or the lens or anything else. It has to do with us. I mean, I found that out as well. Shooting birds in flight is a lot more difficult than shooting a motocross rider. I'll tell you that. So now I know all the hype. Remember when we were building up to the official announcement, everybody wanted to see in the teasers, birds in flight, birds in flight, birds in flight, which is annoying. It was driving me crazy. Like, that's the only thing people shoot. Now I understand. So I have to retract all my sarcasm. I'm sorry to all those that I laughed at or whatever about bird in flight video. It is difficult. All right. See, I will apologize when I know I'm wrong. Jeffrey here. Just watched a Netflix series called Animals, and the first episode is Birds of Prey. Oh, highly recommended. They said the peregrine falcon is the fastest bird of prey at 280 miles an hour. Wow. That is incredible. Let's see what we got going on. Sorry, folks. Hang on a second. Hang on a minute. T-Mid may join us. All right. Yeah. Good luck me tracking a peregrine falcon at 280 miles an hour. Maybe it's easier. I don't know. You definitely want some lens for that, though, don't you? I doubt you're going to get that with a 24-70. I don't know how far I am behind all your comments, folks, but so here you go. James talking about eagles. I have eagles up here not far from me, too. I need to venture out there and shoot one day. 500 to 600 seems to be the spot for birding. Yeah. Well, and that's interesting because that is one of the reasons. Well, that isn't, but I mean, Bayou Josh talks about his 600 he loved. Of course, the weight, moving it around, carrying this, that, whatever is, one of the detractors for the 600 F4. But no doubt about it, it's just, it renders photos just brilliantly. It's beautiful. But his reason for going to the 400 TC28 is because you have that limited range. Once the bird fills the frame, you're done. And the 400 with the TC, built-in TC, that gives him 400 to 560. And so he's in the 600-ish range on the long end, but he still has plenty of flexibility going back to 400 millimeter. So that was the reason he was all in on the 400 TC 2.8. I'd still, if somebody handed me a 600 F4, I'd take it in a heartbeat. I've wanted that lens for a long time. I don't need it. I just want it. Birds. Yeah, that's been my experience too, Mike. The problem with birds is they don't fly where I want them to fly. Uh-oh. We have the master. All bow to the interview master. We can't hear you, Vaughan. I don't know if you can hear us.
Good morning, everyone.
There you are.
Just got my morning coffee.
All right. Your audio's low. Hang on. Let me see if it's on my end. There you go. Hang on. All right. Go ahead.
Good morning.
There you go. Everybody here, Vahagan, okay? Well, I got to scroll all the way. Man, look how many
What's
comments.
happening, everybody? Hey, I just got my morning coffee. Chuck, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you're at, or good evening.
Wherever you're at in the world, whatever time it is, welcome. Roy's from down under, so
What did I miss?
we just been talking about the super telephoto lenses and the zoom telephoto lenses and things like that, and birds, trying to track birds in flight and stuff like that. I was just talking about how I'm still working that, and it's a skill in itself. It has nothing to do with the camera, folks. It's me. That's the reason I'm having trouble, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think me and Mozman got to do part two because we learned a lot from that day, right,
Yeah.
Moz?
Yeah.
Hey, glad you guys enjoyed last night's show. It was a learning experience, that's for sure. Right, Chuck?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Learned a lot about Mr. Mottner. He's definitely a stand up and outspoken guy. I like
I
that.
I think he
You know,
pronounces his last name Mountainer.
Mountainer. All right. Well, I'll just call him Cliff then. Mm.
Hey, Maz, I think I'm ordering your gimbal, brother. I loved it too much. He has it was the PG1 Leo photo. That's a
Hmm.
good, and it's a really good one.
You're ready for part two, huh, Mosman?
Yeah, ready to
Chad
go.
talking about the show made him want a 105 uh 1.4. Yeah, that's another lens that I've struggled to keep from buying for the longest time, but man,
I just saw a 1424 2.8 for $500 on Craigslist in LA market. If anybody wants to jump on that, I mean, that was unbelievable price. Somebody's selling it.
is that the S or
No, no way.
G?
It's not the G. This is
Yeah.
the G for $500.
Yeah, I was going to say 500 for the S would be a steal.
Yeah, that's a
I
steal.
got a 1424. I'm going to have to unload this F mount glass, I think. Actually, maybe I shouldn't just yet, Vahagan, because for as much as I'm using it, the FTZ works fine. I mean, for as much as I use the lens, maybe I ought to hang on to it for a while. It ain't gonna get too much cheaper than it is now. I mean, for
What
F
lens?
mount,
What lens?
the 14 to 24, 2.8
The
F mount.
G.
Yeah, the G.
Yeah, hold on to it. I mean, I'm holding on to mine.
Yeah, I think I will hang on to it. I would like to upgrade my. I'd like to get the 24 to 70 2.8 S. Although the E version, I'm absolutely happy with right now with the FTZ. I've played with that quite a bit around the studio here, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to shoot with it on the 30th when we do our live uh, photo shoot here in the studio.
Wait, Chuck, is there
Sir,
a way I could share the screen?
yeah. Well, it's on your end.
Hold on. Oh shit. Hold on. Let me
See,
see.
Vahagan gets lazy. He hadn't combed his hair or nothing else, so he only comes on audio. Oh, he heard that,
Yeah,
I bet.
I haven't set up my camera, and my webcam sucks. So
I'm just messing with you.
hold on.
Yeah, Roy said too easy to mess up the front element. Yeah, I know that too. I didn't hurt the element, but I have broken the oh shoot, the little uh oh. I don't know who this is. This is interesting.
The prize caller.
Hello? That's what I thought. Sorry, folks. This phone is just for this channel, and it still gets hammered with stupid robocalls. Man, aggravating. All right. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here we go. You ready?
Right here. You see that?
Yeah.
Oh, I sorry, it's 585, but still good deal. Look, mint
Yeah.
condition, 1424-28. Only used a few times, like new. Rancho Palos Verdes. That's a high end area too. So you know they take care of their stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Everybody said I was wrong when I said with all the Z lenses coming out and everybody going to mirrorless, it's going to be a time to pick up G lenses cheap. No, 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 they're not going to be. Well, okay. I don't know what you call that, but I call that a very good price.
See, this is what I do every morning. I go here, I just go like this, and I just see what's up with the Nikon Z department.
Yeah.
It's nothing. We got this lens that's always for sale, but that's about it. Hey, we got a Z9. Look,
What's the price on it?
6,500, which is he wants to make what? Some money on it.
Yeah.
No thanks. Anyway, so you go like this and stop.
Who is that handsome devil in a chair? I don't know why that pops up every time I open or close screen sharing. Picture of me. I just like myself. Someone calling for concert tickets. Mike, I guess I wasn't caller number 9. Yeah, maybe that's the way I should do it. Caller number 11 gets. So, Albert, well, hit the wrong one. Hey, Paul, good to see you in here, buddy. If you had the chance to view the video, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Vahagraphy's intriguing video comparing the Z9 and D3X. Yeah, I guess you weren't in here earlier, Albert. We were talking about that, Vahagan, and I had said that, you know, I mean, come on, this is a camera. Look how old it is, and it still holds its own with no problem. At the time, it was a fantastic. Well, it still is a fantastic camera, but at the time, I mean, 24 megapixel was unheard of, and but the price was unheard of too, which is why not as many made it out into the world, I think. But if all things were the same, as you said they were, Vahagan, it has a warmer tone to it and a richer color, I think, because somebody had mentioned that it looked better than the Z9. And I would agree. Maybe if that's at default settings, it does. But I remember my D4, it had a color and contrast and that 3D effect. Everybody calls it micro contrast. Okay. But it was just beautiful. And I think some camera bodies are just born with that and they become legendary for that reason. And I'll shut up and let you add to it there, Vahagan.
Well, let me just say this. By no means did I make that video to sway Z9 future buyers from that camera. I mean, you can't. That's not why I made the video, and I think the purpose was just to see out of the box starting point what the image quality compares. Now I know I got some comments saying, "Well, you should have shot ISO 64 on the Z9." And you know, why did you shoot ISO 100? And you know, the IQ suffers, and I don't know, maybe
maybe
not.
No, that's bull. You know, there again, here we go, tech togs. The IQ suffers. If you can see the difference, I can't. That's even with good glasses on. I can't see the difference between 64 and 100. I mean, what do
Well,
you guys think?
I by no means did I. You know what the limitations are on the D3X. The
Yeah.
Z9 is far. I mean, it's just today's tech. Obviously, I all I wanted to see was what the starting point was with the same exact settings, same exact lens. I took the body off the camera. I mounted the other body, took a picture, and that's about it. That's all I did, and that was the whole point of it. And if you guys are thinking of not buying a Z9 because of the D3X is out there for under $1,000, don't, because that camera is like it's a whole different thing. I mean, it's not gonna do what's needed today in the modern times. But autofocus, like I said, that fence shot I had with when I was testing out ISOs, the D3X kind of struggled finding that fence. It was just going back and forth, and that's to be expected. But the Z9 nailed it right away. It was just like boom. It knew I was trying to do that, and it did it. As far as the cropping goes, I might have messed up a little bit. I'm gonna revisit this test again when I find a better support system. But that's about it. I mean, I heard comments. I was reading comments this morning saying that there's one viewer. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna stop the order of the Z9." I'm like, "Why?" No, I'm like, "Don't," because the Z9 is an incredible camera. There is no comparison. And yeah, but I think I'm gonna do portraits with it. I think I'm gonna do a little uh, more realistic lenses on my next test. I'm not done with the test yet. This was just the first thing. I mean, I put the 400 for fun, but I'm gonna do it with a wider lens. I'm gonna shoot some portraits side by side. I'm also gonna push the ISOs a little bit in more harsh lighting conditions. I know I was in outdoors where everything was peachy and so there's a lot I can do with the D3X and the Z9 comparison. So, but I think the Z9 has the D3X for what it is. I think it really it shocked me, right out
Yeah.
of the box. And the warmer colors, uh, yeah, you saw the tests. Did I had one test on there where I set it at auto ISO on both. And by the way, the auto ISO on the Z9 was daylight. Somebody was asking me if it was daylight. So that's about it on that. And I had fun. It was a great video, and hopefully, it was just for fun, just to see what's up.
It is a great video, and that's a great camera, no doubt about it. I can't imagine anybody talking about, well, that convinces me not to get a Z9. And I know that wasn't your intention. And I doubt anybody is going to say, well, that's it. I'm not getting the Z9. I'm going to go buy a used D3X. Uh, but somebody brought up it's in the sensor. It's just some of the sensors are you know, they're legendary for a reason, and color, contrast, or whatever. Just like I loved my D4, I loved it more as far as quality than the D5. There's just something magic about the D4, and those are the cameras you hate that you ever got rid of. You know it when you're giving it up. You know that you're giving away some, magic. But if you want to move on to the next one, maybe that's the only way you can, which was my case. But yeah, I love the rich, warm colors in that D3X. Beautiful.
I set it up ISO. I set it up at 14-bit, and I think the Z9 is 14-bit, right? We're not at 16-bit yet.
Right.
Or is that like coming soon, or
I don't know.
okay? Okay, not sure
Jeffrey will
about that.
correct us here in a minute, though. I rely on Jeffrey.
But I want, like I said, I haven't even began to crack the Z9 yet. I mean, there's so much we can get into with that, and I haven't even tested anything out on that. I'm just opening I'm in chapter 1 still.
Yeah. And I remember when I told you that, Vahagan, this is a camera that, maybe there are some that are just, I don't know, savants and can pick it up and they've got it mastered in a day. For me, there's just so much with this camera that I'm just going to have to take my time and continue to, play with it.
They can't do a 16-bit via firmware, can no, it has to do with the well, I'm not sure, man. I just take pictures, man. All the tech stuff, you ask a tech guy. That's a good question though, right?
Yep.
Paul. Uh Ted. Yeah. And one more thing I want to add about that is if you're getting the the D3X for a camera that's gonna, think that it's gonna replace the Xena, don't get it for fun. It's an older camera, and when you buy one, make sure that it's in good condition because these older cameras they're like those collector cars. You have to kind of baby them and
Yeah.
see if there's any defects, and and I'm kind of pressured here because one of my commenters like, I just ordered one right now after I watched it. I'm like, oh man, it better work. Don't be blaming me. Man. I think was it you, Albert? I think it was you, Albert, right? Or am I getting things confused here? If you get your camera, don't blame me if it's not what's advertised.
uh, yeah. Again, like I said, way back when, with the mirrorless coming out and all the new lenses and everything else, as everybody begins to transition, there are going to be a lot of great F mount lenses and cameras, DSLRs, on the market for the cheap. And, a lot of people, again, criticized me and said, no way, blah, blah, blah. But you've already found that to be true, Vahagan, not just with the D3X. I mean, that may be stretching it in the DSLR department. However, fantastic camera. But if I was a youngster, or if I were able to talk to somebody, it's kind of tough, depending on how much money you got to initially invest in camera equipment. But and let's be honest, you can buy some professional level equipment right now, very cheap, as cheap or maybe even cheaper than buying into quality mirrorless equipment right now. Yeah, it may put you behind somewhere down the road when you want to eventually you want to move to mirrorless. And of course, if you want to do the zombie arm shooting, this is how everybody shoots now with mirrorless cameras instead of looking through the EVF. I don't know why anybody would complain about the EVF. They don't use it.
I don't
But
shoot like that.
huh?
I don't shoot like that.
Well, I know I don't either, but I mean, you see, so many people with mirrorless cameras now with the camera stuck out. Now I understand why they complain about the weight of the Z9. It's like holding a dumbbell out in front of you for an hour. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that, but I use the EVF. But anyway, there is so much equipment that's coming out on the market right now, used, that is fantastic equipment, just in the Nikon brand itself. You can start your career in photography with fantastic. We got another one. Got another intruder. I use the EVF. But anyway,
Oh, let me mute this. Oh crap!
Mr.
Which
Ike, welcome, brother.
sorry. Pardon the interruption. I had to jump on here and pay respect to Chuck the God. Okay. The Godfather.
Coffee everywhere.
What do they
Almost
do in
choked.
the Godfather? You gotta kiss the ring.
Oh. What are you up to today, sir?
I have a lot of stuff I need. Well, yeah, I got a lot of stuff I need to get done. But I was like, I saw you had sent the link, and I was like, we were supposed to actually go up to Seattle, my wife and I, to help her shoot some content, but that just got canceled. So now I'm here. So I get to work on some stuff for myself. So I was like, oh, he's still streaming. Let me jump on real quick and, you know,
Yeah, man. I
yeah,
sent it over there. I thought, if you're not busy and you want to, I know you're busy. Look, there's no doubt in my mind that Ike is busy every day with the amount of content and everything that you're doing, not to mention, your business, your wife and you.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
you're on the go, man.
Trust somebody's complaining somewhere about something missing. Trust me. Whether it's YouTube saying, "Hey, where's the content?" or a client saying, "Hey, where's my stuff?" or the kids like, "Hey, where's dinner?" Like one of the someone's complaining.
Hey,
uh,
next time I'm in Seattle, man, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
I was there 2 years ago
2 years. What for what?
just to visit the city. Never been, and I liked it. It was around where all the leaves were all orange and yellow, and it was a beautiful city, man.
Seattle is a very artistic place. They really appreciate art. That's one of the things I like about Seattle is their art scene is here is like really, people appreciate art, all kinds of art. And if you're in the music, it's a dope music scene. I'm not very much a music person or into the music scene here. So, but yeah, I guess there's a dope music scene here.
that's where Creative Live is, isn't it?
Yeah. Although I just recently passed by their building, it got tore down. So I'm not sure if they moved it somewhere or where it's at now, but apparently they got brought out by Fiverr. Um,
Hmm.
they sold the company to Fiverr. So, but yeah,
You
where they
guys
used to
got
be,
that.
go ahead.
You guys got that beautiful national park there. I forgot what it's called, but it's awesome. About 15 minutes away from downtown, or 10 minutes. Starts with a W, I think. It's like a national park, like the biggest park in that area.
Um, I mean, it's Seattle, so I live in Tacoma, which is about 30 minutes, 40 minutes south of Seattle. So I spend most of my time here in Tacoma, but I'm in Seattle often. So, but I'm not sure which park you're talking about. I can't think of it off the
But
top of my head.
but that's cool. Yeah, you fly into Tacoma, right? And then you take the tram to Seattle, which is
SeaTac, SeaTac, which is the Seattle Tacoma International, which is like the halfway point. So they call it SeaTac, it's the short for
okay.
Seattle Tacoma. So yeah, SeaTac is where you fly to.
Cool. Hey, thanks for joining us last night, man.
Oh yeah, no problem. Cliff, Cliff is another straight shooter. Um, seems like a serious person, but he's also like genuine. Like you know where you stand with him, right? Like so he's pretty, and I appreciate that with
I
people
do
like that.
too.
The East Coast, they're like, hey, this is how I feel. This is my opinion. Like love it or leave it type of thing.
I feel like he was holding back. I feel like he had a lot to say about certain things, but he just didn't want to. Okay, I
That's
guess he
probably
could not.
true. That's probably
Yeah,
true because once it's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. And I
yeah.
remember I remember I first seen Cliff. Like I told him, went to WPPI, and I'm looking at the list of who to learn from, and I'm seeing this guy, and I'm seeing his images. His images are sick, and he's teaching about something. I forget what he taught about, but I was like, yeah, I want to go learn from this guy. So I went, and he gave a lot of great information. Like I took a lot of notes. He's full of information, and I just remember, that leaving that impression, and but also him being, saying how he felt, like being a straight shooter, and saying, "Hey, if you do this, not a good idea, or you shouldn't do that, or that's probably dumb," things like that. But I respect it. So
I call him the backlight natural light king because he uses
yeah,
that backlight
I think, and
like
that's
crazy.
like when he said, "Put yourself between you." And I think because I say that now, and I remember like I think he's where I picked that up from. You know how you learn things, you forget where you learn from. You just it's been so long, you just repeat things you know. And I'm like, oh yeah, you might have been one of the ones because when I was early, I was always sitting watching videos and taking notes and always just trying to soak up information. So
Yeah, that's one of the, I guess, negatives about being a ambassador. I mean, of course, there's a lot of positives, and it'd be an honor for anybody to be one. But I guess you gotta kind of have to watch what you say, and you know what I mean. Like you can't really be
You got to protect the
100%.
ambassadorship. Yes.
You can't really be 100% yourself.
Which is why I'll never
So,
be an ambassador.
so I asked him. I said, hey, how much does Nikon listen, and do you think they should listen more? And then, I based on his response, I could tell because I wanted to be like, hey, are you ever frustrated with Nikon about how they do things? And as creatives, as people who love Nikon gear and want Nikon to be more competitive or more transparent or communicate more, I'm sure there are moments where he'd be like, come on, Nikon, what are you doing? But he can't say that. So, um, yeah, because I'm like, I know you got to be frustrated sometimes with how things going, but you got to keep the smiling face and all of that stuff. So he handled it well, but we know.
Yeah. Even like what he thinks about the new thing going on with the Instagram and all that.
Hmm.
He has some pretty opinionated uh you know viewpoints on that, and I didn't he didn't want to go there, but I've heard him complain, and
Hmm. Yeah, see, and I'm the complaining type. That's why I'll never be just like you, Chuck. I'll say it like this is stupid.
Well, it'd
and
be
they
hard for
should.
them to offer me an ambassadorship when I'm telling them that their marketing department needs to be fired. They need to learn to communicate right off the bat. Yeah, I wouldn't go far in the ambassador program.
But I will say that, I don't know if I told you this before. Like I ran into a few of the Nikon guys at WPPI, and the guy I'm in contact with, Jeffrey, he was like, "Yeah, I like that one video you did." I'm like, "Oh crap, you saw that?" That when I was like, the Z6 doesn't suck, you do or whatever, and I I don't ever. It's like you hope that they see these things, but you don't plan on them seeing them and contact you or take. It's just like they're gonna do what they're gonna do at the end of the day. I've realized that
Right.
a long time ago. So it's like, hey, I try to at least create a conversation or create it or maybe push back against certain narratives, but ultimately things are gonna happen how they happen regardless and that. So, but and that's why I was like, if you, Cliff, if you say, hey, Nikon should do this or release that, how far up is that going up the chain to where it really matters? And so I might
Yeah.
complain to the PR or, the guy who makes the video and say, oh, Nikon should do this. But if his boss is like, yeah, no, it's a no. Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I was laughing here at Jeffrey's comment. He says they have my picture on a dartboard
Yeah.
in the marketing department at Nikon. And it's probably true.
Mm.
Hey Chuck, just like me in my last video where I said, you know what, no thanks on the $14,000 400 because of like you got to pay all this tax.
Yeah.
I don't think Nikon wants to hear that shit. Don't buy that.
No, but you know what though? You know what? For you and Ike both. I mean, let's talk about that for just a second. Are they opposed to forming some kind of relationship or at least contacting people that are like us? Because if that's the case, then there's something weird going on with. And I'm not picking on Jared Poland, but come on, Jared Poland's not the greatest marketing person for Nikon. Um,
Yeah, I really
He-
wanted to say something last night about that, and I was
yeah,
like, you know what? Because I was gonna say, you know what? I think his titles can be a little bit of a bashing towards the company, but I didn't want to like get into that, because
yeah,
I
I
think
know.
they're friends.
Yeah. But my point is that he's very outspoken about and a critic of, different things with not the Nikon Corporation. You notice he never talks about the corporation, but he'll definitely slam the cameras and things like that. And again, just like Cliff said, that's his stick. I can't take away from that. That's absolutely right. It's his channel and it's done
Mhm.
him extremely well. I don't have a problem with that. So I'm not picking on Jared. I'm probably picking on Nikon more like, really? This is what you want for your initial information about this camera or this lens? But anyway, so there is hope for us, Ike.
Yeah, and well, the whole Jared's good for you if you're good for him. type of thing, right?
There you go.
That's what I've learned. You know, in the DSLR stage, and I don't want to make this about Jared, but I learned a lot from that guy. Like when I first got onto YouTube and I was like looking up reviews and things like that and gear, he was the go-to guy. It was him and Matt Granger. Um, and I know Fro from the days of Cazillo, like back when him
Hmm.
and the other guy used to be together. And I think it was
Yeah, he left it does.
I think it was John Bauer Photo, the other guy that did some kind of Nikon stuff. So anyways, I've been on YouTube watching YouTube for a minute, and with Nikon's DSLR days, they were, you know, highly competitive, not if not number one, number two. So, you know, it made sense to go rah Nikon. But when the mirrorless
Yep.
thing came out with Sony, things have changed a little bit. And so now you kind of really got it. It really shows, like, you know, I say, like, you know, when there's conflict, you really know who's got your back. And that's kind of the thing, you know, like who's really in Nikon's corner, or, you know, do they really got, or they just like, oh, well, it was great because it was great. Now it's not great anymore. Now I want to say something.
Well, and there's a very fine line between fanboy and honest, opinion, and it's hard to. It's real. You got to straddle it actually, because if you really like it, then you're a fanboy in everybody's eyes. If you criticize it too much, then you're a hater. You know, I don't know where the middle ground is, but he's not in it. And again, I don't. I'm not criticizing him as a person. He is a genius in what he's done with his channel. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about that.
facts. Like I said, I've in my whole entire lifetime, I brought two three, because my wife had one. We bought three I Shoot Raw shirts. Okay, so if that doesn't tell you, like, regardless, like the guy still makes great content. He's still one of the best YouTube reviewers out, even though, you know, he has flaws as well. But like, I take his real world review over anything, you know, Tony and Chelsea does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you had the budget and the manpower to do what he's doing, I think you can do the same.
You're right. You're right about that, but it's just not in the cards for me at the moment. Not my lifestyle. Like, you know, not with a family and with kids. Maybe if my kids were older,
Yeah.
like Tony and Chelsea's kids are, and I had more time. And, you know, you gotta remember, like, Tony has built, sorry, not Tony, uh, Jared, he built it up from like I remember the early videos when he's in this room.
Yes, little folding table in the basement and
Yeah,
three
right.
lenses. I remember that video
Hmm.
specifically with the Trinity lenses standing up on their lens hoods. Yeah, I mean, you can't fault him for what he's done with that channel.
No, no. In YouTube is not, it's not easy. Like, it's easy to post a video, but it's not easy to gain that kind of following. It's
Right.
tough. And some
But you know
people
what, Ike?
have
I'll
mhm,
submit that he's more entertainer than he
yeah.
is, and that's what has really built that channel. Again, not taken away from whatever knowledge and everything else,
Hmm.
but he's an entertainer, and that has definitely helped build that channel.
Yeah. But I think, you know, the relationship with Nikon and Jared really just is long if Nikon can take this and the next version half the size and even better, like, there's nothing you can say, because I'll
Right.
give Jared his if your product's good, he'll say it's good. If it's not that good, he'll also say it's not that good. And so, you know,
Yeah,
if
but
Nikon
there's
makes a good
some
product,
yeah, but there's some misleading clickbaity titles there, you know.
I'm still back
that's
to
the
you can
game.
call the baby ugly without saying the baby's ugly, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
that's
but you know.
that's the YouTube. That's the shtick, right? That, like he said,
That's
that's
it.
his shtick. So it
Yep.
is what it is.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, he does, you know, I don't think he's married and he doesn't have kids, so he's,
Nope.
you know, full on board with this, you
Yeah.
know, so
It's hard to
it's all good.
compete with that. Like, single man, you know, is still in his prime, living his life, has access, opportunity. Um, you know.
Opportunity.
Hmm.
Yesterday, Cliff said something powerful, and he said that dude that he talked about, Henry or whatever, he said that
Hmm.
man gave him the opportunity to be seen, and that was so powerful. That said shit. If you can get the opportunity, all you need is the opportunity, and then from then on, things happen. That was great.
And also to his point, he said, and that was a big thing for me. Like when I did a video with Taylor Jackson, and I was like, why are you on YouTube? And I was like, well, I saw these other people said, and I was like, I can do that. And when he was like, yeah, I went to a seminar, and I was like, I could do this. I'm better than this guy, and I could do. And I'm like, sometimes that's all it takes. Like if you see something and you're like, I could do that, then do it. And then if you can get the opportunity to do it, then if you really can do that, and if you're really as good as you think you are, you will succeed.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Nikon sent him those items. I would have sent it to Peter McKinnon, honestly.
Peter
The
McKinnon's
Z9.
he's a Canon ambassador. Peter McKinnon
No,
is.
I know that. So
Yeah.
but he's reviewed he's reviewed like drones and stuff.
They don't
No,
compete. They don't compete with Canon though.
so he wouldn't even do it, huh?
There's no way, because Peter does. He's like an unofficial. I think he actually is a Canon ambassador. I'm not sure, but I know that he's connected with Canon in a way that, like,
Yes.
if he touches anything that's not Canon, that's competing with a Canon product, like another mirrorless camera. So he just did an action camera of the 1R. I saw that. It's an action camera. It's a GoPro. It doesn't compete with Canon. Jones don't compete with Canon, but you'll never see him with a camera that's not a Canon.
That competes.
Yeah.
That competes directly with the R3 or the
Exactly.
R5.
Yeah.
I got it. That's interesting. Yeah.
But the thing is, so because his friend Maddie, who he's always with, he isn't an ambassador. So Maddie reviewed the Nikon Z6. He did an excellent review of the Z6. Maddie also shoots Sony, and he switches to Canon. And I remember he got with Peter, and he made a joke. He was like, "Yeah, Canon doesn't send me any stuff anymore because he does Sony stuff too." So it's a fine line, and that's the one thing about being an ambassador, man. Like you get locked in.
Maddie's hooked up with Peter Lundgren a lot now too, because they're both Sony shooters.
Sony, yeah, yep. And
Maddie or Manny?
Matty, M-A-T-T-I.
M-A-T-T-I,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But I remember seeing
Manny. So Manny's turning. I think he's using the Z9 now for a month.
Manny has all of them. He has the Z9. He has the.
Manny's not an ambassador for a brand either.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like as a YouTuber and as a content creator, I think that it's more beneficial to be able to have access to all of the brands. But
Agreed.
if you are in the industry, like, so for example, if you're like a Cliff Montner, who is an industry guy who speaks and teaches, then I think having the ambassadorship is a better thing, because when they go to these conferences like the WPPIs and the Photo and the B&H, like your sponsor, hey, Nikon's like, here's our guy, put him on your stage. I'm like, so I don't know if you know, but like me and my wife, we were sponsored by a printing company called Black River Imaging at once. And when they would do conferences and things like that, they would like sponsor us to speak at these conferences. So if it wasn't for Black River Imaging, we wouldn't necessarily have a place on this, because the companies are like, hey, here's a conference. Hey, Nikon, Sony, Canon, Pentax, whoever, who are the people that you want to put on our stage, since you guys are going to be sponsoring? Do you have anybody that you want to promote your stuff at our conference? And then they say, yeah, we want our guy and our guy. And so if you're an ambassador of a company, you get opportunities to be in front of more people. But with YouTube, it's YouTube, it's not governed by, or Instagram's not governed by anything. So if I'm a guy who shoots all of the brands, it's up to me to make my own audience, and then I will use these brands to create an audience. Where it's like,
so that brings up a question. Ike, who is the all brand shooter out there that has the wasta of a Peter McKinnon or a Jared Poland? There isn't anybody that's, a Nikon fan, but he's not tied to the hip of Nikon and will shoot all brands. Somebody just brought up Matt Granger, and that may be an issue. Matt Granger, I thought he was a Nikon ambassador.
He's not. And this is this is my point. So, and I've been, like I said, I've been going to WPI since 2011. So not as long as Cliff, but when I started getting into YouTube, I noticed that I never saw the YouTuber guys at the industry events. So there was always this line. So when I talked about the Jim Gardners, the Cliff Montners, Baby Cantrells, all of those guys that I learned from that are in the industry, they don't have a big YouTube presence. Jerry Gionis is
Right.
on YouTube, but you don't see him reviewing gear. He's still an
No.
industry guy. He
Yeah.
just has a YouTube channel that he puts his his gear on. On the other side, at that same time where I was learning from Cliff Montners and Susan Striplings and things like that, I'm also learning from Jared Poland, Matt Granger, Tony and Chelsea, all of those guys, but they're not coming to WPPI, and you know, Cliff
What's
Martin's not
funny
coming to
is
YouTube. So
yeah. What's funny is you got to make a choice. You want to be an ambassador or do you want to be a YouTube sensation?
exactly. And there are a few people who kind of who kind of can do a little bit of both. So you have Vanessa Joy, who she's a Canon ambassador, but she's also has a presence on YouTube, and she's playing that game. But she started in the industry, so she got her ambassadorship in the industry. Now
Yeah.
she's on YouTube, so there's that. But you're not going to see too many people who can play. You don't see anybody who's going to play both lanes and be
So
like
that's what we need
super
you for,
successful.
Ike. You need to be that voice. You need to be the Nikon shooter that is the all in all and will shoot anything and, be an influencer, a YouTube influencer.
I'm not organized enough for that. I'm too all over the
No, I,
place.
I, I know, brother. It takes dedication, which is another thing I'll say about Jared Poland.
Hmm.
The reason it's not the reason he's not married, but not married and having and even when Vahagan talked about, I'd like to have a drink with you. He said, I don't drink. I'd like to go out. No, I don't do that. I don't
Hmm.
socialize. I don't whatever. That's because he is dedicated to his
Yep.
channel.
Yeah.
And that
He
shows.
socializes with people that he thinks he could benefit from, man. Come on.
Well, that's marketing. That's yeah.
Yeah. We all need people. I mean, you gotta have your people. So I'm sure he has his people, but
Yeah.
he's like the no new friends type. Like, nah, I don't need any new friends. Like the people who I hang out with. To your point, um, if you do get it in with Jared, you got to be useful. You just can't be some schmuck that like becoming friends with Jared. Like you got to
You
have
said it
something going
before.
for you.
You said it before. What can you do for him?
Yeah,
And then he'll do for you. Morton
exactly.
Helmer, wildlife photographer, Nikon ambassador, though, Jaspreet. He's not yeah, he's got a great following, but he's not influencing anybody. The wrong genre to influence people that are coming into photography. He's fantastic,
Hmm.
great, love watching his videos, really do. But he's only reaching a smaller segment of people that are settled, and they're using whatever camera system they want. He's not one that's pushing Nikon down anybody's throat. But great
He's the
guy.
40 plus. He's the 40 plus. You to be a wildlife
Yeah, look at
photographer,
my
you got to be rich.
demographics.
You
Ike's
guys
the
are
youngest
rich,
person in my demographics.
bro. Bro, the live yesterday, I was like, "Sheesh, you were born. You started." He said, "What did he say?" He said in '82. I think I was like, I was born in '83, bro.
85.
Yeah, '85.
85.
And I was like, bro, I was 3 years old. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Hey, you're what, 35?
39. I'll be 39 in May.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. In May, huh? May what?
May 5th, 5583. My Cinco
Oh,
birthday.
5 de Mayo.
Yep.
All right. Órale. Hey, I grew up
uh,
in East LA, man.
yeah,
I
I'm
know
not,
all the
I'm not a
traditions.
big drinker though, so I'm a country boy from Virginia, so that whole thing gets lost on me from the South.
Huh? Chicanos. Yeah. So, hey, dude, you mentioned that whole thing about Nikon users and this and that. Omar Gonzalez. He's
Yeah.
another influence that
Hmm.
he has big time influence using Fuji, but now he's not shying away that he's liking the Nikon image. And he's
Hmm.
doing it.
And his base is good for Nikon.
Exactly. People like that like can reach a younger crowd, because you got people again with the wildlife guy. You got some young schmuck is like, well, I'm gonna get into wildlife. the 70 to 200 is like the barrier to entry, or the 100 to 400. You know how much those lenses cost?
Yeah.
Like, you can't pick up, again, what we talked about, you can't pick up an M50 and a Viltrox lens and go and shoot route life. You got to get too close. You're gonna get killed out there with a 35 and a. Did you imagine trying to get a shot with a 35 in a wildlife? Like, yeah, get too close to the bear. That's something right there. I want to see that. I want to see a wildlife photographer that shoots with a 24 to 70. See how long he lasts.
Thanks, Vitali. Thanks, brother.
One of my clients was that type of guy.
Really? What kind of wildlife was he shooting?
You never seen that video? Shit, everybody's seen that video. All right.
Was it the one where he was like mad at you or something? That one?
Yeah.
I saw the title, but I was like, nah, I don't want to watch this because I don't want to get triggered or anything.
I got a question. Like, is there like a perception that these corporate pros that are ambassadors have on YouTubers / professional photographers?
You know, I have that perception a lot. Like, as somebody who's a working photographer, when I see somebody on YouTube that just goes on and, complains about stuff on gear, or has the time to nitpick about gear, I'm just like, yo, you just sit up here and you're not actually in the field doing it for real. So of course you can complain about things that don't really matter in actual use and application. And so sometimes I have that perception about, not only the corporate, but it's like, oh, these are people who just sit up here and look at it and inspect it and say, this is my opinion, but tell them to show their work. That is that whole thing. Like, what's your work look like? Can you show us any work? And that's when the conversation changes.
That's true. But when you have guys like yourself, guys like Omar Gonzalez that actually go out and shoot events that do good work, it's like, okay, and they're on YouTube. It's like, okay, well, then what?
That's true. But I mean, we're not the loudest ones out there. Still, the loudest ones are the Jared Polans, the Tony and Chelseas, the Matt Grangers. Those type of people are still the bigger voices, and that get the Peter McKinnons. They get more attention. And even respect to Peter McKinnon, he's talented. Like, he's really good at what he does. He's a really good photographer. But you're not seeing him out day in and day out doing jobs, because I just feel like, the conversation would change maybe a little bit if they were actually out there having to make a living doing photography, as opposed to making a living creating content. It's like Cliff said,
Casey Nesbitt, I mean, really kicked off a lot of the, the followers just following to see what's next. Peter McKinnon kind of did that, but he refined it more. Peter McKinnon's style, his video work with all of his B-roll and everything else was just beautiful. And a lot of people followed for that reason, not to mention the fact that he had 10 minutes of content that was interesting, and that's it. So, both of they really kicked a lot of this off. And then we have Jared Poland stepping into the picture, and Tony and Chelsea and everybody else. So that said, I want to pose this real quick while you're in here, Ike and Vahagan and the chat, everybody's talking about it. So just for instance, Jeffrey says Nikon should get a big bus, label it Nikon Experience, drive around the country, product demos, videos, guest speakers as they move from city to city would be a great PR move. Okay, so here's your chance. Here's your chance, Ike, because we know that they listen to you, they hear you. Well, just as you said, we saw that video. So here you go. Here's your chance. Tell Nikon, what do you think from your age demographic? What does Nikon need to do right now to really kick off a campaign that reaches out and touches everybody, not just the old farts that want a videoless camera still?
So
I'm going to take a leak while you do that. I just want everybody to know that.
So Jeffrey's right on point. Like that whole, because Sony did a thing like that. Sony did they did a day experience. I remember Sony came here. They brought like a little 1 day experience with Sony gear here. That day that they came, I was renting the Nikon Z7. I had rented it it just came out. I rented it from Lens Rental. So I was trying to get as much content with it as possible. And so I had a model come out and I was testing it with her the same day that Sony was doing that thing. But had I not had that camera, I would have went to the Sony event and I would have documented that. So yeah, Sony they've done the same thing. They probably don't, I mean, COVID has stopped a lot of stuff, but same great idea is that to just really get out in front of people and put the cameras in people's hands and really like let people experience it. I think, get more from the ground up, or maybe
Yeah.
trying to turn a few people. But also when I was at WPPI, I was talking to the guys and I was like, yo, Nikon should have these affiliate Instagram channels, not Instagram channels, sorry, affiliate, yeah, pages, right? So if you guys know, if you get on Nikon, sorry, if you get on Instagram, you'll see like, wildlife shooters galore, the page, and you see all of these different posts of wildlife pictures. If you're into cars, I know there's a page called like Car Lifestyle, where you get on, you see all of these cool different car pictures that other people took that they repost to just give, more exposure and more clout to these different car pictures, right? If you get on, there's off-camera flash, there's like ISO 1200, there's light shapers, there's OCF portraits or whatever like that, where these pages repost like off-camera flash photos or BTS stuff to, I guess get publicity, things like that, right? If Nikon had a thing where it was like Nikon portrait photographers or Nikon cinema or Nikon sports, and I told them, this is what I said to them directly. I was like, it doesn't necessarily have to be from Nikon. It just has to be supported by Nikon. So there doesn't have to be an official Nikon portraits page. It just has to be a page that Nikon says, hey, we support. This is a page that we created to support you guys, but this isn't officially us. We're just reposting things. And now we get a lot of people excited about, getting Nikon gear and then being reposted and being shared by Nikon, because when you get this gear, you get acknowledged by the company, the actual company whose gear you use, that does something for you.
Yeah.
I just made an Instagram post, calling out another YouTuber who was on YouTube complaining that he joined the ambassadorship, and then the company didn't really support him like he felt he needed to be supported, so he left the ambassadorship. And now he's like, hey, what are the other brands talking about? And I just think that's so full of crap. But that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation.
Hey, no, you make interesting points about that. Have different types of marketing, and it's very important to touch that guy that's not looking for the politically correct photographer all the time.
It will. So, and to your point, like a lot. So, Omar, for example, right? Omar
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily looking or even really cared about Nikon, like talking about. He just was like doing his thing. But because he works with B&H and he gets gear, he tried out the Nikon. He said, yo, I actually like this. There are a ton of people that probably think that, oh, uh, they have a perception because of the narrative that's going around, and they've not actually tried a Nikon. But once they get to try it and they see how good the images are and how good the autofocus actually really is and how it actually does work if you know what you're doing, that would change a lot of perception. So one, like
Yeah.
Jeffrey said, getting out and doing like hands-on campaigns, which is tough considering the market. And also two, having more of a PR blast of like supporting different. I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to show you I'll show you light shapers. All right, so this is an Instagram. I don't know if you can see it, but this is an Instagram page. Boom. Right, it has like 500 and something. Let me bring my ISO down. This camera. Here we go. This Instagram page is like 500 and something, and all they do is post, people's portraits. See this?
Mm-hmm.
All they do is share pictures taken by other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine if instead of instead of it saying light shapers, it was like called Nikon shapers, and you could post and get all of your stuff reposted by Nikon. That would
Yeah.
do a lot for public, you know, um, public for the notoriety of the people that say, hey, I'm going to buy a Nikon and hopefully I'll get reposted. Because a lot of people also, like that guy that I talked about, brought into the Sony brand because they wanted the Sony attention and the Sony clout and the notoriety that comes with owning Sony. Not necessarily the fact that it was a good product. It was like, well, if I shoot Sony, I could be considered cool. So if Nikon can be considered cool, people would just buy it just because.
Keyword right there. If Nikon could be considered cool, they tried that with what's his name? Remember the old marketing campaign they had with oh shoot, I can't remember his name.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, well, that was an attempt at that, I think.
That is literally the reason why we own. That's literally the reason why we shoot Nikon is those commercials back in the day.
There you go.
I told the story on Taylor Jackson's channel. My wife and I, she saw the Nikon. It was like the Nikon town or whatever, where they went to the town and gave, same like Jeffrey's idea. They went to a town, I think it was Charleston, South Carolina, and they gave the people of the city a camera and told them to take pictures. And then they showed like what could be done. They showed the people's pictures, and it was a brilliant campaign. So my wife was like, "Wow, I want a Nikon because of that commercial." So we went and bought her a D40. It collected dust. She decided to pick up the camera again, and the camera that she picked up was the one we had in the house, which was the D40. The best camera you have is the one on you, right? So she started getting more and more back into photography on the D40. So we started learning on that camera. As we learned, we needed more lenses. So we just kind of grew into the Nikon family. Had it been a Canon, 40D, we'd be Canon shooters today. If it was a Sony, it would be Sony. But the commercial caused her to buy a Nikon, and we grew into the Nikon family, and here we are.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because mine was. It's funny you say that because my story is a little different. I started with Nikon, but then I tried everything. Canon, Fuji, Sony. I've had them all, and I just thought Nikon was it for me. But hey, Ryan Troy, what's up, man? You making the money over there at the corporate world?
So here's a good point too. When the Z9 Z6 was released, remember that Ike? They had a lot of young, what they thought were influencers with the Z6 and the ZFC, same thing, but they just let that drop. All the people that were doing, walking around vlogging and things like that, but they let it drop. They didn't continue with it. They didn't promote those people that they initially brought on.
Exactly. I think that the corporate, and this maybe and goes back to your perception, right? So you said, hey, do you think that the people in the industry have a perception about YouTubers? Well, the good thing and the bad thing about Nikon is the reason why we love their product so much is because they are built by people who are, they surround themselves by people who know photography, who know gear, who know shooters. They know how to create a great experience around taking photos, right? Those are industry people. PR people, YouTube people, Instagram people, a little bit different mindset, right? They're like, how can we get content first? Then we'll talk about this stuff later. So when you have a company that revolves around industry people and traditional ideas around photography, they might drop the ball when it comes to picking out content creators about, in the content world. Whereas like the YouTubers, if you ask, Jared Poland, who his biggest competition is in what space, he probably could tell you, all right, well, this is what they're doing over here. This is what's going on over there. Tony and Chelsea could probably tell you the landscape of social media. You think Cliff Martner can tell us like what the landscape is on TikTok and what the that's not his thing.
Right.
But the hell of a photographer, right? He knows gear. So you have two different mindsets and two different thoughts.
If you can do both, and like for example, look, you got YouTubers that come on and say, okay, we're gonna compare Z9. They haven't even really used the camera. They're not even photographers.
Exactly. That's my point.
You put them in a situation. Look, you put them in a situation, a real world situation, what me and you go through at events. Their head will spin. They don't know what to do.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, look at my hair. Last night there were 3 of us.
Okay, I got it down here. Mine is down here. Okay.
Yeah. So, but You're absolutely right, Ike. That's the problem. And I've been complaining about this for the longest time. Nikon's got to move away from all these old folks. They're fantastic photographers, and there's a
I'm not
time and a
that old,
place
dude.
to highlight them, no doubt about it. But the fresh face needs to be on Nikon now, not a bunch of us old timers, no matter how young we want to appear or whatever. And I don't feel I'm old, but the point is I'm not the spokesperson for Nikon right now. I can't be. It's
Yeah,
you.
no.
It's you and everybody younger than you is where
Well,
it needs
and
to be.
like how they say, oh, these. Remember back in the day when you had the young kids, like, look at these young kids want to get on camera and on YouTuber, and they want to be YouTubers. And they gotta get a job someday. One day you're gonna have to stop to get a job. 10
Yep.
years later, these kids are making a lot of money, and all of the old timers who felt like, oh, this thing is a phase and Facebook's going to go away. Facebook is only getting bigger. Okay, TikTok is only getting bigger. So the mindset around like, oh, digital and social media is ruining the country. It's what it is, right? So you either have to adapt and accept it and embrace it, or get left behind. And the mindset of a lot of old people like ourselves is the mindset of ones that are going to get left behind, because things aren't these cameras are getting easier and easier to use. So as much as I pride myself in knowing how to see the light and knowing how to create flash, you can go up to ISO 1 million in 10 years and it's not going to matter. My
Yeah.
techniques and my skill and be able to, it's like, oh,
Hey.
focus and
Hey.
recompose is a thing of the past now. Like, that was a skill that I needed to have to be able to perform. You
Yeah.
don't need to know how to focus and recompose anymore.
Right.
It is what it is.
And not to change the topic, but I'm not too far off from Mike, man. Don't let the white beard fool you, because it's my dad got white at 30 years old. I'm not that much older than Ike. I'll just put it to you that way. So, hey, bro,
Well,
I think Nikon needs to find some black sheep that just said it all. Black sheep, like, just say, you know what? I say it like this. Not your traditional guy that is all corporate. You know what I mean? Just somebody that says bad things about them too. Is you need that. You need that diversity, and that I think telling the truth would go further.
And
And
this, I want to make this point.
Go ahead.
So we're all in the photography world. We're all big time photographers, but Sony also not only has their hand in photographers, but they have their hand in the content creation space when it comes to like vloggers and things like that. So I think it's I Justine or whatever. She's a big time Sony user. She has like millions of followers, and all she uses is Sony gear. And they come out with cameras and they give them to her, and she's like vlogging and creating like cool vlogs. And so on one end, Sony can have Manny Ortiz or somebody, or Jared Poland, say that the A7, A1 is cool for these things photography wise, but then they can give it to iJustine, and iJustine says, "Look at my cute little vlog, and look how cute I look with my," and nothing technical at all, but they could serve two different markets. And I think that getting to your point, Chuck, about Nikon maybe trying to get to that younger crowd. That younger crowd is the content creation crowd. It's the TikTokers.
Yes.
They could be using they could, the ZFC could be the product if they put it in the hands of, and they're not going to get iJustine. She's Sony. But if they could find or maybe cultivate the next iJustine.
Yes.
And that's the thing, getting in the ground, finding somebody who's at the beginning, who's making noise, and maybe like jumping in, supporting them wholeheartedly and building them up to be the next iJustine, or I can't think of the names of the people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and you're absolutely right, because I have argued about everybody complaining. How many comments? I don't hear them as much anymore. I don't know why, but all the people in the forums and everything, everybody complaining about, well, I don't care if the camera has video in it. Dude, you don't understand.
Exactly.
You're not getting a Nikon camera anymore that is just for your photography fetish, okay? I'm not making fun of anybody or hammering anybody, but get over it. The DF sold only because there were, how many of those people aren't even around anymore? My point is we got to get out of the old mindset. Nikon's for old people. It's not, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We've got to get into the, reach out to the market. The market is video, and nobody wants to hear that. Well, I don't care about video. I understand that. But video is what's bringing you the latest and greatest technology from Nikon, whether you want to
Yeah.
believe it or not. Because without video, Nikon cameras are going to, we're going to die away. Our age group is going to pass away.
Mm-hmm.
And if there isn't somebody coming up behind us, and they're not coming up behind us for single point autofocus, photos only cameras, okay? That
Mm-hmm.
was our day. That day is gone. So I don't mean to get on the stump here, but my point is that you're absolutely right, Ike. And if we don't want to do the video, which so many of my age group could care less about, um,
All you got to do is not hit the switch. Nikon
I
literally has a
know.
switch on the back. Just don't hit the switch. You don't want to
Yeah.
don't hit the switch.
No, I agree, but they want a cheaper camera body that does photos only. It's not everybody, don't get me wrong, but the majority of my age group up could care less about video. I'm different, but the majority feel that way, and that's what. Now, one more thing. Let me add another problem into the marketing equation. Japan,
Oh yeah.
whole different culture.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan owns Nikon, obviously. Nikon
Yeah.
is Japan. But look at the difference between here's one company in Japan that's holding on as hard as they can to the old school method of corporate. Look
Yep.
at Canon.
Mm-hmm.
Canon, and you see the two CEOs a few years ago, seeing them both. One, Nikon, stodgy, necktie about to choke the man to death. Everything's perfect. Canon. He's got a jacket on and a button down shirt, but no tie. It's open. His hair's longer. Well, that speaks volumes, man, between the marketing between the two companies right there. So you're battling a couple of things. All the old timers that want to go back to the F1 days, and they'd be happy. And then corporate Japan, or corporate Nikon, who can't seem to get past the past. Mark, is it what Gonzalez? Is that his name? Or Mark, the marketing guy for Nikon that pitched the Z9? I can't remember his name, but younger guy, did a fantastic job, but he's keeping his job at Nikon. He's not going to buck the system, but I'm sure he got away with as much as he could in the campaign to kick off the Z9. That's what we need, but you got to give those guys free license. You got to give the
That's why.
marketing team free license and let
That's why I
them go.
said. That's why I said you can.
Mark
We can
Cruz,
speak
yeah.
this. We can say all of this we want, but how is that going to get to the people above that make the decisions? All this is great, but if the decisions have to come from Japan, how many of that is actually going to come out when it's like, nope, not bad idea, this sucks. Somebody, I want to answer a question. I think Jaspreet was like, blah blah blah. What did he say? I think he said me and Manny. I should. Oh, can you collaborate with someone like Matty Hapoya or Potato Chat? Swap Z9 with them. Let them use Z9. You can use whatever they have. I'd be willing to do that, but these guys are kind of far away from me. So, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not a YouTuber. If I was a YouTuber, I'd travel all over. I'd be in California with Vahagraphy right now. I'd love to just be able to just travel and make YouTube videos and collaborate with different. But that's just not the space I'm in, so I can't do those kind of collaborations. And so it'd be nice for Nikon to reach out to those guys, but they only have a certain amount of gear, and then they believe, a lot of them believe they should preach to the choir. We're the choir, right? You giving a Z9 to me is going to make or break it, because y'all already going to buy it anyway. You just want to see me use it, but you're going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
If you give it to Potato Jet has a huge audience that may not have even considered Nikon. And so that's also an issue, that you give it to the same people who are talking to the same people. And my daughter's crying loud. Okay, mute.
They should sponsor a Mr. Beast video, man. Hell yeah, man. Get Nikon all over those videos. I'm telling you,
You
Mr.
know,
Beast.
I guess the hope is that maybe Nikon does somehow, some way see some of the content that we are putting out. Obviously, they do in a roundabout way. Maybe I don't know, but if they recognize that you had done something in one of your videos, well, maybe they do dip their toe in the water every now and then, or they've got I was going to say spies, but whoever out that kind of push this stuff up to their attention. Maybe I don't know, but it's definitely not going to stop me from continuing to harp on it. Again, Nikon, I love the products, but I've got such an issue with their marketing strategy and their
Hey, Chuck, you froze.
communication or lack thereof and stuff like that. So I'm going to continue to, harp on that. And I love hearing from you, Vahagan, and you, Ike, and everybody else when we get into these conversations, because especially your age demographic is where it needs to begin. That's where the discussion needs to begin about what Nikon needs to do. Not me,
Look, who
not
has the
my,
most viewers? Who has the most viewers on YouTube? It's Mr. Beast. They use video, they use audio.
yeah, yeah,
Sponsor their video. Let them
yeah,
use your cameras for one of the shows.
yeah.
Boom, you got millions. I'm talking millions of youngsters.
You're right. I watched the History Channel, The Food That Built America, and all these different things, they put on. Anyway, they had the Coke Pepsi war. Very interesting to watch, a lot of fun. So, Michael Jackson had agreed that, yeah, I'll do a Pepsi commercial because he drank Pepsi. Anyway, they asked what it was going to cost. The promoter came back and said that, well, he wants, I don't know what it was at the time, $5 million, I think, which today is chump change. But they were like, oh man, $5 million, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the bottom line is Pepsi's sales went through the roof because they got Michael Jackson to do his videos or his commercials drinking Pepsi. Not to mention the fact that they were going to choreograph and write some music for those shows. He said, why do that? I already have music. I'll use my own. But look at what it did. Just in the few commercials there were, it launched Pepsi again. You're right, Vahagan.
And I just saw a comment that I'm going to touch on two things. It's crazy how just because a celebrity does something or somebody famous, it can influence people to make the same decision that they could have made on their own before they saw said person do it. That's crazy to me, but it is what it is. And two,
Yep.
Paul Connor said Nikon seems to limit their educational and sales videos to Nikon USA website. That's another thing that they could do is offer educational things and trainings to teach people how to be better photographers and be on YouTube, because that's promotion and marketing in its own. So with that was the point.
So picture line camera out in Salt Lake City. I love the place. And there's fantastic camera store, blah, 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 all that. But I bring them up because I see it not just there, but other camera stores. How many Sony reps do you see going to these camera stores and putting on demos and things like that? How many Canon reps? I see them all the time. How many Nikon events do I see? Crickets. Very seldom does Nikon have an event at one of these camera stores. Again, back to, who's marketing and who isn't. Maybe Nikon does just want to be the niche camera. That isn't going to make us happy, but I know they could do so much more. They had a lot of market share at one point in time. I know they could have it again. I just think that now the other thing to this is I'm not going to discount the fact that there is another stumbling block in this marketing plan or whatever. And that's Nikon USA. I'm sorry. Maybe it's time. You got some older folks in there that I don't know.
Wait, what'd you say?
And I don't want to alienate Mike Corrado, but you know what? Either he needs to find a whole different crowd of people to begin to market or work with. I said this 2 years ago when they had a big roundtable at one of the conference or one of the WPPI or whatever. I don't know what it was. And the same old, and I mean that literally, the same old photographers were guests on the platform, showing the same old photos they'd shown the previous 3 years. And I'm thinking, man, and I made a comment. That's when I got blacklisted at Nikon USA. I made a comment on the live stream about, can you find somebody that's under 70 to actually come on the show and give us a fresh look at what Nikon's doing? And needless to say, I got no response from that.
Well,
Got a lot of
how
hate mail from other people, but
how about fresh ideas? Like,
yeah.
get new people on. Fresh ideas, man.
And I'm not taking
pictures.
anything away. Joe McNally is fantastic, but you know what? He's not. No young person is tuning in for a lesson in photojournalism. As interesting as it is to me, a 20-something could care less about 1970.
Well, and my point again is that, like, we've already made up if Nikon shows marketing for the next Z8, we've already made up our mind if we're going to buy it. We don't need to see Jared Poland's review to wonder if it's going to be good. Guys like us, a lot of people like us, we know we're going to buy it. That's already done. So you really have to really put your efforts in marketing to people who shoot towards to try to convert other people. They say keeping customers is cheaper than getting new customers. That's true.
Absolutely.
It's easy for Nikon. I'm going to buy the next camera that comes out because I've already bought all this other gear. So like you said, having the same old, guys that show the same old images is only really kind of preaching to the choir. Like,
I keep saying that, Ike. I keep talking about the fact that you're not advertising to me, Nikon. I'm already in your camp. You don't need me. I'm here. And you're not holding me here with your advertising either. You need to advertise to those that aren't in your camp.
Yep.
And you need to figure out how to do that because you're not doing it very well. And I want to address real quick. Paul Connor said, McNally does a lot of classes on lighting. Yeah, look, Paul, I'm not taking anything away from Joe McNally. I like Joe McNally. My point is Joe McNally is no longer the face, or he can't be the face of Nikon for new people to the camp. Okay. He's wonderful. Once you're in the camp, you appreciate Joe McNally. But if you don't ever get in the camp, you'll never know who Joe McNally is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Ike brought up a really good point yesterday where he said, "Hey, Cliff, do you pay attention to what other cameras or manufacturers are doing, being an ambassador?" I think that's important for the new, if Nikon decides to get new recruits to, champion the brand, just to be honest with what's going on. Hey, don't be afraid of saying, "Hey, Sony's doing this. Good job. Let's do this. Let's try that." Be afraid to go against the grain sometimes. And, be, like I said, that guy that just says it like it is, man. People want to hear the truth, be that guy that just says it and speaks truth, not only just a stiff with the suit, hey, this is, Nikon's awesome. I don't know what other brands are doing right now, and I don't care. What do you mean you don't care? We have to care, man. So.
Yeah. Great comment there with Jesprit. He's absolutely right. There's another one that,
So that's why they should get an old rocker that just, curses and shit. Hey, at first, get this camera, man. This camera's rock and roll, man. And by the way, I do shoot Canon too. Look, I have a Canon. I'm just bringing up an example.
Albert, I agree and disagree. Nikon is not a small company compared to Sony Optics or Sony Camera. It's a small company in comparison to Sony Corporation. The camera portion of Sony is no bigger, no larger than Nikon.
Look,
and
that's
by the
true.
way, Nikon is a large company if you include all Nikon assets because they are huge in the medical industry. So I get tired of people that continue to tell me Nikon's so small. No, it's not. Okay. It's as big as the others. they do you think Sony Corporation and as a whole is pumping all their money down to Sony cameras? No, they are not. Sony camera they have to stand on their own. And the minute they become a liability to the corporation, they're gone.
Yeah, but
Because,
you know what? If you see the next A1 in Spider-Man Far From Home, you know that camera's going through the roof. You
well,
see
you're
Tony,
right.
you see
The
Tobey
marketing,
Maguire. Hey, look, okay, because Sony owns Spider-Man, and the next
well,
Spider-Man movie, you're gonna see Tobey Maguire run around with an A1 taking, and
yep.
it's just gonna, it's done.
No, you're right. You're
Out of
right.
here.
You're right. I'm not going to take
It's
away
out of
from,
here.
you're right.
It's out of here.
But I'm not making any excuses anymore for Nikon. There are no excuses. It's, they're a small company. No, they're not. They don't have manufacturing. Yeah, they do. I'm not buying into it. I think Nikon relies on a lot of this too, all this hearsay out here to be able to drag their feet.
Hey,
Not in technology.
Jeffrey made a great point. Jeffrey said, "Look at the music video that Jerry shot for Nikon. It was
Yeah.
great." And I get a 25, and I'm like, "Yo, you're actually right," because as impressive as that video was that Jerry Jonas made of the music video, that's cute. But like, if he would have got somebody like a YC or a Maddie,
Yes.
maybe would have got somebody like them to make a music, that would have been way more like intriguing and I'm not taking away from Guionis, but like their eye and how they see things is a lot different from his eye and
How
his
many young
traditional.
people follow
Yeah.
Jerry Guionis?
How young
Yeah.
is
Hey,
young?
Chuck, your camera's frozen.
Oh, he's fine on mine.
How many young
No.
people follow Jerry? Jerry's great. Love him. Once people get in the Nikon camp, they learn about who all these people are. But nobody's following Jerry Guionis that's looking for their first camera system or whatever, or they've got, a Sony or whatever. YC Imaging, just like you said, just like Jaspreet brought up, he reaches who knows how many people with one video and highlighting the Nikon Z9 or Z7 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah, I'd give
Why?
Mr. Beast the whole, the library, or I'll give that kid that was that kid that reviews toys. It gets like
Or
millions
Ryan
of
Tour
hits.
reviews. Yeah.
Like, get him some Nikon gear, man.
Yeah.
So all the cameras can do all these things that, Nikon can do everything Canon's doing out there in the world, and Nikon can do everything that Sony's doing out there in the world. But because of misinformation, Nikon isn't near as good. It can't. And why? Because Nikon doesn't prove that it can by putting it in the hands of a YC Imaging. Then all of a sudden, it can do that.
Right, yeah. Malsman said you can't fault Nikon for not spending an inordinate amount of money on marketing in the US when their gear can't yet compete with the other brands on the same levels. While there may be some truth to that in terms of autofocusing, the point is that like when you're marketing gear, people don't know what they don't know. And it goes back to my point of, if Sony can catch the eye from 100 feet and Nikon can only catch it from 50 feet, well, I'm only ever shooting people from 15 feet away. So the fact that the Sony can catch the eye from 100 feet, even though that's better than 50 feet of the Nikon, doesn't matter if most of my clients are 6 feet in front of me. And so when you give people the opportunity to actually use the gear in actual real life scenarios, they'll probably tend to find that, hey, this actually does what I needed to do just fine. It catches the eye just fine. Like, so this whole narrative about it not being good enough is kind of misleading in a way, because most of us don't require the extreme. It's overkill. Like, as good as the A7 IV is, it's overkill for most of us, but it's only $2,500. So most of these, even the A7 III, the A7 III is overkill for most people. So these people are walking around with a camera that's capable of something way more further along than they would ever need to use or to be able to do. So that's my point. My point is that, like, if you get it in front of people and you market to people and you say, let them be aware of what this can do, they might be more impressed. Like, once they realize how good the Nikon files are, they're not going to care as much that it doesn't pick up the eye
You're
automatically.
right.
Like, but people get stuck on the autofocus, and they don't get to see what those files actually do for them and how it brings joy to their life when they see the Nikon colors and saturation and vividness.
That's why you need YC Imaging throwing music videos out there and saying it was shot on Nikon. Then they've seen it. You didn't scare them away. After the fact, you realize, wow.
So Mossman says it doesn't matter that it's overkill; it's what's being pushed by everyone's throat. That's the point of marketing, right? If you spend more money marketing, then you can push it down people's throat. So that's the point. That's the pushback to what you just said. Like,
Paul,
hey, if you push it down people's throat, then there you go.
Yep. Paul, I submit to you, Jerry Gionis is a fantastic wedding photographer, but this doesn't sell cameras to the group, the target audience that we need them sold to. And all the money that comes out of sales goes into R&D, not just the sales of one camera. I've said this over and over. So if Nikon can get more cameras in hands of people, more sales, R&D benefits from that. And that's what we want. So hence my pushing all this stuff. Otherwise I could care less. But you take all the money away from R&D, and then we're waiting and waiting and waiting for development and everything else.
There's a guy on YouTube. He does car videos. He reviews cars, and I think he uses like iPhones. Nothing special. And he reaches millions of people every week, millions. And if you can find out a way to work out a deal with him where he can, shoot on a Nikon and just, because the guy, I don't know if you've heard of Doug DeMuro on YouTube.
Yeah.
The guy is just like, he's killing it on YouTube. And if you can incorporate Nikon, or maybe if Nikon innovates something new for car photography or something cool where you can just stick it on a dash and shoot 4K 60 and, something different, man.
Yep.
Something like that.
So, Jaspreet, you're absolutely right. And this is where I go back to my point here is that, Nikon USA is part of the problem as well. Nikon USA may need a shakeup itself. Nothing against Mike Corrado or anybody else there. But you know what? Obviously, they're not shaking the tree right now. And that's what needs to happen.
They're too stiff up there.
Yep.
They're too stiff. They're trying to be too corporate. Be up there and just be yourself, man.
Yeah, they're stuck in the old Nikon syndrome of Nikon will survive, and that's it. It's not about just surviving. It's about moving forward and everything else. And I just think that it's time for a big shakeup, and we need to get away from holding on to the past so much. It's fine to talk about where Nikon came from and everything else, but they need new blood in the marketing plan. And the only way it seems they're going to get any new blood in the marketing sector is to hire younger marketing people, because the elders and older folks are not doing very well at it in the target audience they need to be looking at. So maybe it's time Nikon USA let go of some of those folks, give them a great severance package, send them out the door, and bring some new blood in, or that older blood needs to be listening to things just like this live stream right now to get some ideas on where they need to go. My opinion, and I know that some of you are going to disagree, but all right, go ahead.
Yeah, somebody controversial would work really nicely.
Yeah, no, controversial.
Why? Somebody cool, and I don't know, man. I don't know. Get the cameras on YouTubers that have millions of hits. That's it. Secret. That's his secret.
But I will say, to Marsman's point, right? So, now that the Z9's here, right? We know that there's no more excuses. When Nikon can create a product that is so good that these people have to cover it, they have no choice, because we're asking Nikon to be better about make up for the fact that maybe this camera is not as popular because the Sony is so good or the Canon is so good. But if they can come out with something that's just as good and as popular to the regular people, not on the high end to the normal folk, I think that's when things will start to shift. You'll get that young and up and coming person who bought a Nikon Z6 Mark III and is just as amazing as the A7 IV and the R6 II and the R5 II, and they create their channel based off the Z6 III, and they become that person. It's also going to take a product that's going to be so good that they're going to want to. It's going to influence people or inspire people to create and become that. So that, like how Nikon inspired
Yeah.
Jared to be who he is, and how Sony inspired Manny to be who he is, or that these people started with these products that were so amazing, and they built a following off an amazing product. So
You want to know the hottest marketing platform out there right now? The oh shoot, what the band out of South Korea. My wife is just
Blackpink or NSYNC or BTS.
BTS.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Put a Nikon camera in one of their hands. Can you do you all even most people never heard of them? You can't imagine the following they have. They're over 1 billion subscribers.
No. I think I got one of the songs on my thing. I have a 9-year-old daughter though, so
Yep.
yeah.
Put a
Yeah,
camera in
K-pop.
his hand for one photo op or whatever, and you just sold millions of cameras.
Millions and billions.
My wife will tell you, yeah, K-pop. My wife will tell you, right? She loves them and whatever, and I don't understand it, but I'm happy.
He's gonna probably want a big check.
Hey Hassan, the only problem with the marketing director is here at US is he's still tied to the corporate yes no, and obviously that's the case. But I'd like to see him give him free reign and turn him loose and let him mold the marketing campaign here in the US. He can only do what they'll allow him to do, though. Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, there's so much out there, but we brought up enough here. Nikon, if you're listening, just hear us out. Address some of the things that we brought up. I guarantee you, we're not marketeers. It's not our profession, but we know what people want because we're here watching it happen. Oh.
Even those food channels are blowing up, man. Those food channels.
Yes.
Mark Wise, that guy's blowing up. Yeah, something like that. YouTube is all about video, so get them cameras, man.
Maybe we can get a Netflix deal. Not. For some reason,
I'd like to go behind the scenes. I want to see behind the scenes what's going on at the Nikon. Fact, they should open it up, see what people don't know. That'd be nice.
Yeah, somebody mentioned earlier the Z9 is just it's they can't keep up with demand. Well, remember that sounds great, but when you break it down by number, I mean 3,500 cameras a month, and you know what? They're eventually going to fill all the orders. They would have had them filled if they were producing 10,000 a month. The orders would probably be filled by now. So the idea that the Z9 is probably breaking records for Nikon for flagship, but beyond that, it's not breaking, huge records. Okay.
That's another issue. That's the other hill to climb in this landscape. It's like almost a perfect storm for a uphill battle, because you have, them trying to reintroduce or reinvent the company in a way with a marketing standpoint and trying to come out with new products, but with COVID and the restructuring and shortage of labor, shortage of parts, shortage of everything, like shipping delays, even if what as great as the Z9 is, people are like having a hard time getting even the good products. So it's just a tough landscape that they're in right now, because when they took too long to adapt, and then now it's at the point where, like, even if you wanted to buy one, you couldn't. Like, I have a friend who's a excellent Nikon shooter. He wants a Z9 so bad. I'm just like, man, I wish you could have one because you'd be amazing with it, but you can't get one. And 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been an issue. Like can go and buy a D4 easily the day you want it. You can go buy a D4, but now it's just like you got to wait a few months, and that's crazy. Or even lenses, like, oh, I want to go buy. You got to wait, back order. That sucks. That's also something that has, and I get it. It's tough. It is what it is. Sony, Canon, they're all dealing with shortages, but it doesn't help. It doesn't
No,
help.
you're absolutely right, Ike. You're right, and it's one thing to drum up demand, but then you have to meet demand as far as production goes. And Nikon evidently does want to be a very small, tiny company because rather than invest in Nikon, I don't know what they do. Maybe their shareholders are very rich. I don't know, but most companies reinvest in themselves, and that's what drives them to prosperity and larger sales and everything else. So there's a lot there behind the scenes that we don't know, and may have a lot of cause and effect in what's going on too. But pushing all that aside and saying, let's just say it's a perfect world and they can produce whatever, then I still go back to Nikon needs to reevaluate their marketing. And you've had some
Yeah.
great ideas, and Vahagan, a lot of people in the comments have had great ideas. You just got to wonder why they don't listen, or if they just come out and tell us, which they're not going to do. Hey guys, great ideas, but we're as big as we want to be now. We're not. We don't care. We sell enough cameras that we're happy, enough lenses that we're happy.
Hey, check this out. As long as they are still viable enough to keep producing these every year, Nikon can be third place for all I care. It could be fourth place as long as they
Yeah,
still have enough R&D money to keep competing and creating products like this. Hey, I'll still shoot them.
yeah.
I don't have to have the best camera company, the number one camera maker, and that whole fight
No,
between Canon and Sony. Like these guys are fighting like we make the most cameras. We make the most cameras. Like dang, what a problem to have.
You're right, but that's a daring move considering that we're going away. We're getting older. We're continuing to move up the chain. If they don't bring in something at the bottom, though, Ike, then we're what are they left with? We may
Uh,
put up with it because we're invested in it, we like it, and whatever else.
mhm.
But if you can't get other people to understand that they might like it too, then
Yeah,
who knows
true.
what happens down the road. So I
Yeah,
don't know. There's a whole lot. I mean, obviously, my ideas aren't going to solve their problems, but I like complaining about them.
yeah. Computational photography, man. They better get in the metaverse. That's all I
Yes,
gotta say. Hey,
yes,
Nikon, if you listening, buy you some metaverse real estate because
yes.
it's a joke now, but I got a VR headset right up there. That metaverse is real.
Well,
Have you
uh,
have you ever tried VR Vahagraphy, Chuck?
virtual
Probably not.
reality.
Yeah.
PS4.
Yeah,
Oh, you
only
have the
through
PS4
yeah.
VR. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no. I bought an Oculus headset. This is not. I don't work for Facebook. This is not a meta plug. But man, I bought a Quest headset during the quarantine, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty sick. Like this is a thing. I really want to, and that's been a goal of mine. It was actually a goal of mine. I think it was like kind of mid 2020, 2021, was to start making 360 videos. And so this year, don't be surprised if you see a 360 Photo-Me-Ike channel, like Photo-Me-Ike 360 for all my
Hmm.
360 VR videos, because
That'd be
those
cool.
there's a market for that. Anybody out there, hey, if I can inspire you guys, get you an Insta 360 for like $500 because those they actually make really good. Those are some of the best ones. $500, get your Insta 360, put it on a stick, set it there, do your photography, and let people watch your stuff in VR. It's pretty sick. It's like you're there.
I saw a guy using it once. It was pretty sick.
And it's only getting the VR space. It's like how social media it was small, a niche crowd, small amount of people. But as the technology gets more mature, like the space is going to open up to more possibilities. So, Canon came out with a lens for VR, their little 180 lens. So
Yeah.
they
Yep.
see they're
Yeah,
on the edge. They're ready. They're like, look, this is a thing. Like 3 VR. They're gonna need people are gonna need gear to create videos for the metaverse. So let's create gear so that people can make videos for the metaverse.
Yeah.
well, and here's the other thing where Sony has a cinema line, Canon has a cinema line, Nikon does not have a cinema line. So maybe that's something that they need to tap in to get that younger generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I don't know if they need a cinema line, maybe just a cinema heavy camera that's very cinema focused. That's just my opinion. I don't, I think that cinema space is going to be tough to crack. Like you're not going to crack those people who have, Canon C300s because they don't buy cameras every year like how people buy A7 IIIs every year. So you buy
Mm.
C300, that's going to be there, and then they rent those things out. So that's a tough market to crack.
Well, they can try with one cinema camera.
Yeah, a A7 III-S type of A7S III type of camera can
Or
get
or
them.
or no, like an FX3 type camera.
Yeah. That's what I'm. Well, same. FX3 and it's the same thing. It's just some features that separate them, but it's the same camera.
Yeah, the body type, you know,
Yeah.
the boxy looking thing. Black Magic's doing some great things, man. Black Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Black
but even
Magic's
Black
doing
Magic,
all.
they have the
Go ahead, Ike.
12K. They have their big cameras too. Black Magic does. So they like we see the pocket cinema, but they also have back Black Magic Ursula. They have those big cameras too. So
I mean, it's video centric, but for those that are video centric, yeah, Black Magic is doing fantastic.
yep.
And now we all want what BMCC RAW or Black Magic RAW for Nikon cameras.
What is that? The GH6 when they roll that out, it's sold out, I guess, everywhere. You know,
Yeah,
Micro Four Thirds.
That's crazy that people still buy Micro Four that like that. They're like, yo, the next Micro Four, I need that because man, I wanted to film with Micro Four Thirds, but I was just like, man, the low light and the lenses. As much as I loved how compact they are, I just was yearning for better quality.
Wait a minute, I
So
got a question though. How come people are going so gaga over that line? What does that offer that,
over what
you know,
line?
the GH5, GH6? What do those cameras offer?
Are you kidding? The Panasonic GH line is amazing. Like
Yeah. I
they
know.
offer
I
the
just don't
most
know.
robust features. The thing I think about the thing about it is that like if you somebody who are into video, those cameras are small but still big enough to where you feel like you have some meat in your hands. The lenses are light. The video quality from the Panasonics is amazing. Like
yep,
again, I have a Panasonic J85. If you ever shoot video and come back to edit it, the colors are easy to work with. Like it's nice and sharp. The video is amazing. It does 10-bit. And when you look at the features of the GH6, GH5, it was like 10-bit and 4K 60 back in like 2018, like way back when before people in 1080p. So I think the features that it offers at the price point is what made it so popular. And if you're into video, like we laud about full frame because it makes our pictures look pretty, but when in video, it's not necessarily must have. Like you can't really tell a difference between full frame and APS-C video as you can with pictures. And a lot of movies were shot on Super 35 sensors anyway, so that smaller sensor has been used in filmmaking for a long time. So I think that just like the quality and the features that the Panasonic created that cult following and marketing.
And how
It
much
was
is
like
that
one of the
GH6? Do you know?
because I'm in front of my camera right now. I can look it up.
Yeah,
Oh,
videographers use them all the time.
and speaking of,
GH5s.
yeah, they're amazing. And again, $22,000, $2,197 Panasonic
Mm.
GH6. And if once you get over the smaller sensor, like if you can get past the smaller sensor, the specs, what is this? It says here, you're getting a 25 megapixel sensor. It's 5.7K, so that's already up there. So it's not 8K, but it's 5.7K for $2,000.
yeah,
4K 64 10 bit. 4K 120, like, and then they have them rigged out, and then they have the lenses and the adapters and everything. And so, and the IBIS on the Panasonics are made. It's sick how good the IBIS is. So,
See, there you
and then
go, Nikon. Yeah.
and then for the video people, the time codes and all that stuff, and
Yep.
whatever that stuff. I'm not a cinema guy, so I don't know. But apparently,
Ike,
like the features that it offers are amazing for video.
Ike, you ever go over and check out Caleb over at DSLR Video Shooter?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, if you want to find out about micro four thirds and video and yada 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 with hybrid cameras, because very seldom does he talk. He does from time to time talk about some of the full cine cameras, older ones, that you
Yep.
can buy at a bargain or whatever. But if you want to know something about, get a primer on micro four thirds and video and hybrid cameras, that's the place to go. The guy is just so knowledgeable about it all. So you'll see how popular those cameras are. You go over to his channel. He's got a huge following of people that's what they do, primarily video. And he's a great one-stop shop for everything, not just equipment, looking at reviews and things like that, but older glass and all kinds of stuff, but very knowledgeable in that sector.
And that's the thing. So that point of, you don't see a bunch of photographers raving about Panasonic cameras. Most people that rave about Panasonic are video shooters.
Yep.
They're all video people, and the kind of quality. So Vanessa Joy, her husband, Rob Hall, he's a video guy. He shoots Panasonic. Like I just saw a video on Adorama. He's talking about the Panasonic G8-6. He does amazing videos. So yeah, people who are hardcore video shooters that are like, yeah, Panasonic is the way to go. And the thing about it, and Panasonic doesn't have the best autofocus either, right? Like, so people get on Nikon about autofocus. Panasonic does not have the best
hoping for
autofocus
with this new camera.
But they're working on it, and it's gotten better. But for the features that you get at that price point, you can't deny it. And if you're into video, depending on where you are in front of the camera, you don't necessarily need the best autofocus anyway. I vlogged my entire Thailand trip on a Panasonic G85, which doesn't have the best autofocus, but I know how to compensate. I knew that, like, when I put it here, put the autofocus in the middle, focus, and hit the thing, I knew I'd be in focus. And I just did that because the video quality from that camera was amazing. It was nice and compact. And I was behind the camera for the most of the part. If you're somebody who stands in front of the camera and does this vlogging thing, it might be a little tougher. You might have a harder time because you need that dependable. But people who stand behind the camera, that doesn't matter. Panasonic's the way to go.
Yeah, it has a huge following on that side. You're right. And people wonder how they stay in business. They have no idea. They don't, because they're all photographers, just like you said.
Yeah.
Look over in the video scene. And again, I bring this up just for kicks and grins, Netflix. What are the approved cameras for Netflix? Nikon's not one.
No.
Not that this is a big, go ahead.
So we just talked about how, great the Z9 is, but that's a $6,000 camera. The Sony A1 is a $6,000 camera, a $6,500 camera to get those kind of great video features. The A7 III, S3 is, almost $4,000, but you can get Panasonic, GH5 for, around $2,000, get you a nice small compact lens, and you will have video and features that are competing with the $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 cameras. It's 422 HQ ProRes internal, and high bit rates. And again, with a person who knows what they're doing, you can build a career off of this small compact micro four thirds camera.
Yeah, a lot of people
Blackmagic even has a $1,500 offering.
Yeah,
or maybe even less.
Their pocket cinema camera,
and people swear by them.
You put a speed booster on those bad boys, and then you can adapt. And you can adapt all of the lenses. You can adapt the Sony's. You can adapt the Canon glass.
Speaking of which, Caleb all the time talking about vintage Nikon lenses that are fantastic on those cameras.
You know why? Because he's behind the camera. He doesn't need it to autofocus. He's rack focusing anyway.
He's pulling
he's
focus,
like, I'm getting the quality. And to getting onto my point about people who are in the industry, I remember I did a commercial, right? I did a commercial for uh, um, an app for a preacher's app. Like it was like called Logos. It was like a app that was supposed to help like pastors like schedule their sermons and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was on the set, and a friend of mine who he was working with the video company, he suggested me to be the talent. They had a red camera. They had like a cool, beefy red camera that had these cool lenses on there, and they had a person pulling focus. Now, this wasn't a movie set. This wasn't going to be a Netflix film. It wasn't going to be something that's going to go. It was just a commercial. I can show you. It was just a commercial that's on Facebook and social media. But they had a red camera, and they had somebody pulling focus. So they're not sitting here with a Sony A7S III and hoping that it find. They're actually pulling focus and
Right.
controlling and making sure that it racks perfectly. And so when these people who are creating these kinds of gigs and doing these kinds of things, they're not, the first thing doesn't come to how good is autofocus because they don't care. So all of the other stuff matters. The time codes, the
Yeah.
422s and the 10 bits and the bit rates and things like that, and what they can get from the files and the lighting. Like when you're creating films and movies and things like that, you're lighting everything. So it doesn't even need to have like a billion ISO. Like,
Right.
800 is fine because we're lighting everything that we need to light. So if you're creating films, you're not creating it if you're in the middle of the street at night, okay, that's the scene, but you're going to light that too, right? So, yeah.
Now you make a good point with the Z9 being a fantastic video camera, but it's at $6,000. Remember when the 5D Mark II came out?
Exactly.
Back in the day, and then they had that dual pixel
Vincent Lafray.
autofocus. Yeah, I think the dual pixel autofocus Canon, and then Nikon was behind the ball with that. They couldn't even autofocus right, and Canon was way ahead of them on that. And they've always been behind with the video thing.
And what do you think helped build Canon's cinema line? That 5D Mark II. I
Yes.
remember when the 5D, I always tell a story. Like Nikon was the first to do DSLR video. They were the first. The D90 was the first camera. I remember Chase Jarvis made a
Mr.
whole video.
Hassan.
Hey, how's it going, Chuck? How's it going, everybody?
I'm gonna let this on.
What's happening?
Going well, buddy. We hear you. I think everybody else hears you.
Okay, so you guys kind of got me a little excited. You guys were talking about Lumix camera, and
He had to come and put some respect on Panasonic's name.
one of the things I wanted to just kind of mention when you compare Lumix to Sony or Canon or Nikon, I think right now Canon is probably the closest, or Sony when you look at their AS series. But Canon, they just came out with the R5C. But no other company right now, I think, has the ability to match what Panasonic is doing in the video space, and at the same time, not only compete, but actually move ahead of every other company, the Nikon, because Nikon is basically starting from scratch when you're talking about mirrorless. Nikon really doesn't go into the video side of things like Panasonic does. But if you use the Nikon camera, you know that they're very video capable. And when you talk about Micro Four Thirds and their ability to shoot videography like Panasonic does, Nikon has a great opportunity to pull alongside Panasonic and pass Sony and Canon when it comes to video. And you look at the Z9. The Z9 is right there. I mean, think about what the Z9 can do at the price that they're offering, and then you go and you open up the website and you look at Panasonic's website. You have the S1, the S1R, and you have the three S1 cameras. But you have a Z9 that's sitting at $5,000 basically. You have a complete system. So when Nikon drops the mythical Z8, that's their chance to say, not only can we do what Canon and Sony are doing, but we can do what Lumix is doing. We can do it better, and we can do it at better prices.
Oh, I agree. And I think that's where the Z8, the mythical, as you say, and you're right, Z8, it needs to look at that heavily because they've got the ability to put the stills in it without doing a whole lot more. Maybe its calling is more video centric. Now, it's not going to make a lot of people happy. Stodgy old Nikon shooters, and me either. But the point is that it's definitely going to be a boost for Nikon. Yeah, they have nothing to lose by doing that. Would you agree?
No, I absolutely agree, because when you look at what Panasonic does, the very first thing that people think about when you say Lumix, they say autofocus. Okay, but if you ever seriously use the Panasonic camera for any length of time, and you are a videographer, the vast majority of videographers, series of videographers, do not use autofocus. They use manual focus.
Yeah, they're pulling focus.
They're pulling focus. Now, when you talk about YouTubers and someone that's behind the camera, they may want to use autofocus, and that's where Panasonic falls short. But their CEO and one of the representatives have just said that they are looking at face detect and even time of flight autofocus. So once Panasonic comes out with face detect or time of flight autofocus, it's game over. There is no other camera in the industry that's going to be able to match the features that they put inside those cameras if they can bring their face detect autofocus up to Canon or Sony, or even Nikon's Z9 level, right? So Nikon has an opportunity before that happens to sort of elbow in there and say, hey, we have a Z8 or Z9, the Z7 or the Z6 III or whatever it is. The Z6 III could be the greatest consumer video camera if Nikon just take the time, listen to, like you guys were saying earlier, the newer people where everybody's doing videography now, even the YouTubers are into videography now. You drop that Z7, that Z6 III, and that mythical Z8, and boom, everybody's talking about Nikon now.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Nikon.
Yeah.
Because when you look at Panasonic, people say videography, but I'm a still shooter. I mostly shoot stills with Panasonic. And when people are like, what do you shoot with? Lumix. Oh, you hear Snickers? Lumix. But people don't take the time to think about the Lumix lenses. They're certified by the Lumix 24-70 2.8 S Pro is considered the best 24-70 on the market. But people don't know that. They don't understand that, because when they think about Lumix, all they think about is videography. And when they say Nikon, they think about stills. Yeah. So this is Nikon's moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You got Jess Breed in here clapping for you, by the way, because he's been all over video and wanting to talk more video. And Frame Voyager, I need him in here right now too with you guys. I'm going to bring him back in here in one of these live streams and get his take on it. Of course, he's Black Magic all over, but he's all video too. So yeah, what do they have to lose? Nikon. Even like you said, take the Z6 and make that the video monster next. And maybe you don't do it with the Z8, but take the Z6 and make it a video monster.
Exactly. Just like Photo-Me-Ike said, just don't hit the switch. If you don't want to shoot video, just don't hit the video switch.
Yeah, I know.
It's too easy.
I know, yeah. He's showing us here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Don't hit the switch. Yeah.
This little switch right here.
Yep.
These people, it pains them that it exists. The fact that it exists, it's like, I gotta get it off. Oh, thank God. Okay, there it is. It's just like,
yeah. So a whole lot of people in here right now probably aren't real happy about where the conversation has gone, but you got to understand, if you're a Nikon fan, you got to hope the best for Nikon on all fronts. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, this is what's paying the bills at Nikon right now, because so many people are buying these cameras in the Z9, as you said, for the video features. And what camera right now, especially if Nikon drops this firmware update, and you get 8K, 12-bit, 60 across the board with everything else, internal recording with a huge time, almost no time limit, without overheating. You're right. I mean, what camera out there right now, hybrid camera, comes close to matching those specs, at least right now?
Yeah, it's exactly. When I use my S5, my S5 is a cinema powerhouse. It's a full frame cinema powerhouse for $1,900. It was just on sale for $1,600 with a free lens. Like I said, I'm a still shooter. I rarely ever switch over to video, but I'm starting to do that now because my kids are growing up. I want to catch a lot of what they're doing now as a 6-year-old and as an 8-year-old, I want to catch a lot of that on video, and I want to learn to do it with my full frame camera, right? So I'm actually starting to switch that over. So if Nikon comes out and Nikon says, we're only going to cater to the photo shooters, Nikon loses the game. Period. I'm sorry, they lose the game. A lot of the features in my S5, I don't even use. They're there. I read about them. I play with them a little bit, but I don't even use them yet. But the day that I want to use them, I won't have to go out and buy another camera because my S5 is going to be there. It's going to be available for me to flip that switch over to video, and I'm going to have an incredibly competent video machine already in my hand.
Yeah. I wish in the Nikon camp we could all come to agree and quit fighting ourselves over video and stills. I really do. And have everybody jump in. Let's hope for the best on both sides for Nikon, because it benefits both sides if we all, agree and start talking to Nikon about what we want. Sorry, I'm looking for another comment here. Somebody posted I want to throw up here.
Hey, Ike, what were you saying about?
Let everybody else respond. You guys have a great one. Nice conversation. And thanks for letting me call.
All right, hang on, Hassan. Ike or Vahagan, you have anything you want to?
No, I mean that's great. I mean, like I said, video would bring a lot of newcomers to Nikon.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that, like, to Hassan's point, like, you're saying that, like, hey, you're starting to maybe use it now because of your kids. Think about the person who might do the same thing, might post it to YouTube, and then might start getting jobs because of the video that they just shot on a whim, and then they might become an influencer, and all because they started shooting video, on their Panasonic or on their Nikon. Again, who can then grow into the system and then become like the person known for, all because they just decided to hit the switch and shoot video one day and figured out how great it was, and they become, this big time huge influencer, with the capabilities that it offers, as opposed to saying like, oh, we don't need to focus on that stuff. It doesn't matter. You never know. You never really know what might, hit. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Hassan,
go ahead, Vagan.
I was just gonna say, hey, Ike, what were you saying about the 5D? You were gonna tell a story about that?
So I have a Nikon ZFC also that I use alongside my Lumix S5. The only reason I do that is because Lumix doesn't really have, outside of their Micro Four Thirds camera, they don't really have that just pick up and go camera. Now, don't get me wrong, the Lumix S5 is really small for a full frame camera. It's about the size of a little bit smaller than a Z5 actually.
Yeah,
so I picked up my ZFC, and when I wanted to go shoot video, I picked up my ZFC and I was like, "Hey kids, let's go."
Yep, there you go.
Yep.
But no, Vahagan, I was saying that basically, like, when Vincent Laforet made that video with the Canon 5D Mark II, like, that changed the game. And then Canon became known as the video, but it was technically Nikon that had it first, but Canon took over when they had that one person, create this amazing video with a Canon camera. Had he would have did that with Nikon, and that was a push for Nikon might have been in a different space with video, but because the guy took a Canon and shot a video with a Canon and it was full frame and it was 1080p, like, it just changed the game. So,
was the 5D Mark II? Did Canon have cinema line before the 5D Mark II, or did that come after? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that, like, the Canon DSLR line helped boost. Let's say it did exist, right? Let's say Canon had a C300, C100 Mark I, right? But then they came out with the 5D Mark II. Because the 5D Mark II was so popular with video, if you're a Canon user and you buy a 5D Mark II and you get into video, and then you say, hey, I need a cinema camera, and Canon says, hey, by the way, we actually have a cinema line that you might not have known about, but here's our C100, C200, C300 videos, and guess what? You can use your same Canon lens on our cinema cameras. That's when they grow into the system. Once again,
Yes.
You start off small, but you grow into the system, and if they have enough gear for you to grow into, you'll never leave. So,
Remember back in the day they had that raw hack. Everybody would hack the 5D Mark IIs.
Exactly. That was, but that was nobody cared about hacking Nikon for video,
That's
but
right.
everybody had, and that's another reason, right? So, not necessarily open source, but it was made to be an open source platform eventually because I know people who would buy the Canon and use the whatever that hack was, I forget the name of it, to make it get even better video features because there were things that were tucked away that Canon probably didn't
Yep.
want you to use, and so it kind of created this cult like influential following because Canon was known as the video camera. I remember I used to shoot wedding videos. I used to second shoot wedding videos, and we shot Canon. And you want to talk about rack focusing? Talk about being in a reception trying to shoot video, rack focusing a 50 millimeter 1.2 at 1.2 ISO 6400, trying to get like video people dancing drunk around the dance floor, like.
Yeah.
It was a
the
thing.
first time that was the first time I actually seen a DSLR look like a cinema.
Exactly. So Canon had the lenses, like they had the 51.2s, they had the 85 1.2s, so they gave you that beautiful quality cinematic look, and then they had a camera that could do full frame video, and then you put that in the hands of a talented creator, game over. And that's what happened. And so Canon was the video, it was the video of choice. There were so many people who built companies based off of Canon video cameras. When Nikon did it first, they did it first, but they didn't do it right.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have asked that question. Why didn't Nikon just let go at that point? I mean, they again first in technology, but they didn't pursue it.
Yep.
And look how that
dropped the
turned
ball
out.
with the J1 too. They dropped the ball with the J1.
Yeah,
because you know why? Because all of the old farts said we don't want video.
Yeah,
we just want photo.
yep.
And then that's what happened.
Absolutely, you're right. The switch.
I'll never forget it because it was around the time I started shooting. That was around the time when I actually got into, and Canon was so popular. And I remember my wife was like, "We should switch to Canon." I was like, "No, we're not switching to Canon. We're going to use what we have." It was really, I was just being stubborn. I was like, "No, we're fine with what we got. Like, we're not going to sell our gear and start over. We're staying put." But Nikon, the influence that Nikon had back in the day is similar to what Sony was doing. What Sony has on YouTube is how Canon was on Facebook, and you turn on the TV and you see this amazing video shot on a Canon. Oh, and the photographer who shot the wedding shot on a Canon. So it's like you know where you turn. Yeah. So.
Hey guys, I'm being paged. I hate to go because man, it just really got interesting again in the conversation, but I do have chores I must do. Unfortunately.
Yeah, me too. I gotta work on a video. I'm working on a video. I actually rented the Nikon 28-75, amazing lens. And the gist of it is if it is a rebadged Tamron, they need to rebadge a few more Tamrons because that lens is amazing. I want to make a quick point. Tamron makes a 17-70 f2.8 APS-C lens. A 17-70 f2.8 all the way through APS-C lens. Do you know what that could do for a camera like a Z50 or a ZFC if they made a 17-70 2.8 lens with VR, VC as VC? Like, forget the 24-1 f4. Like, it's a 20. It's basically the equivalent of a 25-105 2.8 equivalent, right? Now, of course, you have to account for the APS-C lens, so the depth of field is going to change, but you get 2.8 light. That's amazing. So Tamron's making some sick lenses, and if Nikon can license that and put that into their bodies and put a Nikon brand on it.
So what's the latest? They have another zoom right now that goes to almost short telephoto. What is it, 50-150 or something like that?
35 to 150, 2 to 2.8. Like lenses like that are amazing. And so I've been testing out this Tamron. Well, sorry, I've been testing out the 28. I tested it out, and it's probably the next zoom lens that I buy. It's probably going to be the next one I buy.
I'm looking forward to that because I'm on the fence right now buying something to use in the studio, just for the studio portraits. And that will also, I can use elsewhere. And I had considered the 28-75, but wasn't sure because I'm going to trust you in your assessment, and that may help me make a decision on whether I pull the trigger on that. I love the price. I like the focal range. I don't need 24 on everything. Let me know.
Yeah, I'm gonna also put raw files in the description, so I'll supply some raw files for people to look at for yourself, so you guys can see for
All
yourself
right.
how it looks on the Z. I shot everything on the Z9, so as far as image quality and autofocus performance, it's as good
Yep.
as it's gonna get. So there's no, oh well, you shot it on the Z6, maybe it didn't focus right because you was, that whole argument. There is
Yep.
no
Yep. Yep.
none of that. Like, I use it in the Z6. You'll see I shot at 20 frames per second, no issues. The image quality is 45 megapixels, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That we put it through its paces, and I use it on my jobs. I didn't put a person in this. I use it on an engagement session. I use it on a
Yep.
family session. So this is real life work. This isn't like a pretty
Right.
model. Although I did that. I did do that too. You're not gonna. God had it bad. You're not gonna have
That's
my
all
lens.
right.
Yeah, I am who I am. All right.
You are who you are. It's all right. We love you anyway, man. We love
All right,
you
man.
anyway.
But yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, I definitely want to know about it because I'm really looking at that lens. Maybe it takes place of the 24-70 Nikon 2.8 for now, which would be fine by me. And then eventually I'll get around to Nikon's going to produce a portrait lens that I really want, maybe
Mhm.
the new 85 1.2. We'll see how that goes. But this lens would definitely fill the gap for me right now if it's, good enough. And it sounds like you're saying it is. So.
Yeah, for the price, it's amazing. And the quality, again, I've rented the 28 to 70 2.8S. I've rented that
Mhm.
S version. That's the sharpest zoom lens I've ever used in my life. Like,
Yeah.
to me. Now, I just heard Hassan say that the Panasonic's even better. Hey, I've never used it, but in my what I've used, the S lens is the sharpest zoom lens next to the 70 to 200. But
Yeah.
it's $2,200.
Right.
So there you go.
And that's why I'm tempted by the 28 to 75. It's in the right price range for me right now. It's something I'm not going to get hurt by. It's a great
Exactly.
lens to
Yeah.
hang on to. If I
Mhm.
need something in that focal range, a duplicate, meaning two cameras running 35 millimeter, it's
Yep.
perfect.
Yeah. So,
So yeah.
but yeah, look for that in the next couple of days.
Okay. All right. I will.
Right. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you to everyone in the chat too. Thanks for having me, Chuck.
No, thank you guys, both you. I appreciate you guys taking time. I know you probably had other things to do. When I sent the link to you, it was just like, hey, if they show up, that's fine. I'll give you an opportunity. But I'm so happy you did because it turned out to be a very good roundtable today. I know everybody in the chat enjoyed it. They love having you guys on here too, probably more so than me. But yeah, thanks for
Hey, Chuck,
taking the
one
time.
tip for you. Chuck, one tip for you.
Yeah.
When you leave a description in the bottom, tag it to Nikon. So maybe like put an ad in Nikon.
Yeah.
So maybe they jump in here and just watch these things because
Oh,
we
Yeah,
talk
you
about a lot of good
should.
stuff.
Yeah, you should. I'm gonna submit you a title. Maybe the title will get you a little bit better. What is the word? SEO on, because
Yeah.
this Let's Have a Photography Roundtable is cool. But if you put like old guys complain about Nikon, how much they suck, and that will give you a lot more
Yeah.
views.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. Throw me
Chuck,
some
you got to
hits.
do that,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I get it. You're right.
You got to change the
Oh,
titles
man.
and put these ads and
Yeah.
direct
Yeah,
people in
man.
here.
See, I'm not the best marketer for Nikon because my old thinking too. I don't think about all that stuff. But yeah, definitely throw me a laundry list of what I should consider for that.
Yeah,
Or
because
something like Nikon better watch this or something like crazy like that.
yeah, there you go. Get your Jerry Poland on, man. Get your Jerry Poland on.
Nikon's failing.
Oh, jeez, Lord. Oh, man.
All right.
But all
And
right.
then, yeah. All right. Hey guys, again, thanks for jumping in there. You guys are welcome anytime. I throw these things out there to whoever. The more people in here, obviously, the more engaged the crowd is. I know everybody else enjoys you guys being in here. Thanks to all the folks in the chat. That I love the chat room. You guys are great. Those that are here all the time. And spread the word. See if you can get any others to join us. They might actually like what we talk about. It's not the typical. So, anyway, with that said, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. We'll be back Saturday night. And I may try to get John over at Frame Voyager to join us for some more of the video talk. because he's really been pumping out some video content here lately. If you guys haven't checked him out, Frame Voyager, he does a weekly camera news. It's really all about what's going on in the video world, and it's fun. It's a short video he puts out each week, but it's entertaining and informative. That said, I have no sponsors to thank. Hear that? Crickets. All right. All right, folks.
I got more lenses than God. I don't have any sponsors, but donate to my PayPal.
There you go. There you go. All right, folks. All right. God bless everybody out there. See you Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and who knows who's gonna show up.
Wait, Chuck, go 10 more seconds. Let it hit 3 hours.
Hit 3 hours. All right.
10 more seconds.
All right. 3 more seconds. All right.
Oh, I see right here. I see the timer. Dang, 3 hours, bro.
Even got the little bell in there. All right. All right, Vaughn. All right, all the folks in the chat, again, have a wonderful day. See you Saturday night for another roundtable. God bless and take care. Thanks, Vahagan.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.